Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris, and I'm joined once again with Everything in Middle-earth to discuss the latest episode of Rings of Power. Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 4, Eldest, starring everyone's favourite Tom Bombadil. We have a lot to discuss in this episode. We were chatting a little bit before this, and I think we're kind of both in agreement with this. This is probably my most reviled episode so far. Certainly of Season 2. I probably can't remember season 1 well enough to compare it to that because a lot of dumb shit happened in season 1 as well. But certainly for this season so far, of the 4 episodes we've had, this is absolutely the worst thing I've ever seen. So, yeah, I've watched your video on it. Great stuff. And we'll be bringing up points from that as well. Yeah, you've had a week on holiday and you had a lovely time on holiday. And unfortunately, we're back to the grind with more Rings of Power. How did that feel?
Depressing.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, it was like I was in peak life, living the dream, and then I came back to fucking hell. I'm sorry for the language, everyone, but that was an absolute shit show. Abysmal.
Mm-hmm.
Any shred of integrity is gone.
Yeah.
They just flushed it down the toilet. You've got Ent prisons, Galadriel doesn't even give it an episode before she decides to disobey Elrond, who's such a cook. He's got no control. He's wrong all the time. You've got Isildur, who's a wimp, who's he with? Estrid?
Estrid. It took me ages to remember a name. This show has an uncanny ability to introduce characters, and immediately I just forget their names.
100%. I feel like I've got Alzheimer's when I'm watching this because I'm like, who the hell's this?
Same.
You got him flirting with Estrid, who's meant to be betrothed.
These hoes
She's
aren't
forgotten that. She's not. As soon as her boyfriend turns up, Isildur fucks off.
Yep.
You've got the clumps, with fucking Rufio from the Hooks rocking up.
I have a note. Before I watched your video, I wrote, why has Rufio fucking showed up from Hook? And then I watched your video and you clocked it as well.
Tom Bombadil. Oh my god, I cannot wait to go on to him. The guy,
old Tom, right?
Old Tom who doesn't get involved. Happy, sings along, loves Goldberry. Fucking hell. What a load of shite. Honestly, it is abysmal. The lore is ruined. And I agree. I hated this episode the most. This one got me angry. You know what? I did not even have to look at my notes for this. When I made the video, I was like, I'm just going off my head here. I'm just angry. And I thought about you, actually. I thought...
I'm glad
I was like, oh, God. But I was thinking, you set yourself a task to name one positive thing from every... You've got one.
I have one.
I'm intrigued to know because I couldn't find any.
Okay.
Oh man. Yeah, that's what I've got to say. I'll rant a bit more, but Jesus.
I mean, I feel like we could end the review right there because I just echo all of your sentiment. Everything you just said, I could feel like that just felt good, didn't it? To just get all of that off your chest right there. I agree, and I mentioned this before we went live, but I may as well mention it now. A couple of episodes ago, it might have even been for when we reviewed the first 2 episodes. We reviewed episode 1, didn't we? And then 2 and 3 together. So it might have been after we did the first review. I think I said on record, on live stream, that I don't get angry at this shit anymore. Season 1 was, I went in with a fairly open mind. I saw some of, what they were leading to, what the trailers were looking like. So I had a pretty good idea of how it would turn out. And it turned out I was absolutely correct. And even I didn't, I underestimated how far that show would go with some of the just awful shit in there. So I was more angry at season 1 because it just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. Whereas this one, I was like, right, I know what I'm getting in for now. I know it's just going to be exactly the same, if not worse, but I'm fine. I'll just let it wash over me. And I did for a time until this episode today. And here's the thing, everything in this episode we knew was coming. We knew that the Barrow Wights were going to be in there. And we knew that that was going to fuck with the lore and the established history of that and the kingdoms of... it's like Arthur Dane, isn't it? And all of that. And Angmar, it's going to mess all of that up. we knew that Tom Bombadil was going to be in there, and we knew that it was just done for complete fan service. I think you said it might have been one of the writers or the showrunners said that, oh, we just wanted to put him in there because it was something from the books that hadn't been adapted yet, just like the Barrow White. So let's chuck him in. Entwives in there, fair enough. They were kind of knocking around in the Second Age, but we thought, oh, it's probably just going to be a Two Towers clone, like, you know, with the Ents and Treebeard and everything. Turns out it kind of was. So everything in this episode we knew was coming. But when you actually, and the Stoors and everything, but then when you actually watch it play out in real time and you're watching the episode, I don't know, it just rekindles that hatred in you, just the absolute contempt for Tolkien. And then when they do quote Tolkien directly, like with some of the Tom Bombadil stuff, it's just like, don't even fucking dare. Don't even try.
Oh,
you know, you've absolutely wiped your ass with the pages of Tolkien at this point to then try and crowbar some dialogue in, which isn't even meant to happen at this point anyway. That's going to be like the big part of my discussion. But when they do, it feels so spiteful and hate driven. I'm like, don't you even dare use that man's words. Don't even try it.
Did you see that they quoted, because they got backlash, didn't they, from the daddy orc and the family over there?
Yeah.
And they quoted that they were taking the orcs back to Tolkien's vision. It's like, don't bring him up, you fucking hacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because when we get introduced to the orcs again in this episode, I think the first shot we get of one is one like fucking snarling and looks like in the camera, and they're all back to like murderous, horrible aberrations of nature. Whereas in the last episode, it was like, oh, and they put this in the previously. It's like, must we go to war? I have mouths to feed, my wife and my son. Like, what are we doing? And yeah, we're back to the orcs being nasty, evil killing machines. And I'm sure that's exactly how they're going to be portrayed again, as they should be in the next 2 episodes, which are probably going to be the big battle episodes in Eregion, judging by how we end this whole like orc thing off in today's episode.
Don't forget, though, that they're a peaceful race. And Adar just wants to settle, have a home for the orcs, and not have any wars.
Yeah.
Then you see it just fucking firing arrows at a horse. Just awful.
Just for shits and giggles, yeah.
Honestly, awful. And yeah, I hated this episode. This one's the worst for me by far. And I think across both seasons, I think this is up there for me. I hated the volcano episode, the Mount Doom one.
That was the one that I was thinking back to season. I'd have to watch that again to compare it to this, but
I think that one, nothing will top that. But this is close for me. Awful.
Agreed. That's kind of the overview of what we think. So strap yourselves in, guys, because we're going to go through this scene by scene, breaking it down. We've got a lot of ground to cover. So let's get underway. Our opening scene is Galadriel and Elrond assembling a team, putting together the Avenger initiative. We even get the Avenger shot, don't we, later on with the Barrow Downs. And he says, I'm looking for an archer and 2 swordsmen. Have they... I mean, it's oddly specific, an archer and 2 swordsmen. Do they just want to travel light? Do they actually give a reason why they're only going to send, like, 5 of them total? Or is it just a good number? Is it just so they can do that Avengers shot where there's 5 of them?
It is, if they could count. Because Elrond goes, so they need the 3 people, don't they? Is it the 2 swordsmen and 1 archer?
An archer, yeah.
So he says that. And then Galadriel, for some reason, just says, oh, we need an extra person. So it turns out they had 4 people. And that's why one of them died. So she literally, straight off the bat, she disobeyed him straight away. She gave the order to have this 4th person. And what amazing writing. Do we know anything about these elves?
No, not at all.
What's special about... What are the names?
They're handing out red shirts at this point, aren't they?
Exactly. Like, they got the kids fighting. Like, what's happening? Because you don't get introduced to them. No names. They just rock up like the fucking Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They fucking look like the cast from the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't know who they are, and they're meant to be badass, although we get the scenes with the Barrow Whites later on. But yeah, we don't get a reason why they only need that amount of soldiers, wouldn't it be better to send a full force if they know Sauron's there and Sauron's already been taken down by about 5 orcs? Surely the soldiers of Eregion could match up better than them. But
well,
no.
actually, judging by the end of this episode, they could have just sent Galadriel in.
Oh God, fucking the Messiah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of
when you said that, I was like, what does he mean? I'm like, I'm at the Entwives at the moment. When you said the Messiah, I thought it was going to be more Tom Bombadil shit. Like he is God, he is eldest, he is fatherless kind of thing. And then they say the line about Galadriel, and I was like, I know what he means.
Don't forget, in this season, she's meant to be more humble.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually a great comment, by the way, actually. And I forgot to put it in my video. And why didn't they use horses?
That is my next quote. That is I've got it right here. Look. You can see that. Why would they run and not take horses?
Exactly.
Yeah, it pulls out to the map, and you get the Indiana Jones like where like the arrow is going on the map, and they're traveling fucking far, and it keeps cutting to like these wonderful, beautiful landscape shots of, I guess, the UK now, wasn't it? Season 2, They didn't film it in New Zealand. You just got these little dots, and they're just running. I was like, do you not have horses in Elvendom, in Elven land where you're at? I'm sure you could spare a couple of horses. You get there a lot quicker. They keep saying, we must get there with, at great speed and haste and everything like that. I'm like, well, you get there a lot fucking hastier if you're on horseback.
100%. They sent the messengers on horses, so why not?
Maybe that was it. Maybe they were the only horses they had, and they got killed with the messengers. So horses are fucking expensive, man.
They are.
Hard in Middle-earth.
And the Rings of Power has killed a lot of horses. Because they had a lot of issues with, is it Petter, is it?
Yeah,
They've got a lot of issues with them, so they've not used as many this season. But you get straight into it. This is Elrond. We found out in the last episode that he's leading this group now. He's the voice of the group. Straight away, Galadriel's arguing. Every point he makes, she's got a better plan, a better solution. He wants to go... she wants to go north. He wants to go south. She's arguing in front of everyone, not pulling him aside, having a chat, just disobeying him straight away, making him look weak. He did stand up for himself, but again, it's like putting a fucking chocolate teapot on a fire. He's weak. He'll melt. He crumbles. Awful. And
it didn't take him long, did it? Like, I thought, maybe they'll actually give Elrond like a bit of gumption, that they'll let him come into his own a bit. Not even one episode. First scene, and she's already thrown her dollies out the pram, isn't she?
Yeah, straight away, she's not listening. And I said it the previous episode, I couldn't tell when she found out if she was happy, sad, angry. But now we know that she's angry. And this is a changed Galadriel. This is a humbled Galadriel.
Apparently. God.
Humble my arse. And so they get to the bridge.
Yeah.
And the bridge is broken.
This must be Sauron. Sauron's behind this. There's a broken bridge.
Sauron's done it. Or it's lightning or Sauron. Those are the two options. And then they argue some more again, whether to go north and south. But this bit pissed me off, actually, because they know about the Barrow Downs. And the Barrow Downs existed, I think, within the first age, but it wasn't. I don't think you had any Barrow-wites because it was the king of the ring wraiths, the Witch King, converted the was it some of the Dunedain with a plague and then created the Barrow-wites. So they aren't meant to be in it, but according to the law in this show, they already know about the Barrow Downs and they know of the Barrow-wites. So why the hell do they go that way? Why aren't they prepared? And you see within the actual shot, there's ways around it, and they decided to cut through it. Why? Absolutely awful.
Because we need the Barrow-wites in there, don't we? That's why. But there's a quote from your episode, by the way, and I recommend. I know Bath Time, you already have. I saw your comment on there. I'm actually going to quote something you brought up as well, Bath Time, later on. But one of the quotes in your video was, "They decide to go south, much like this show," which I thought was brilliant. That really got a laugh out of me.
100%. And then the reason is that so Elrond's reason why they can't go north, even though they know that in the south there's this peril, is because Sauron could be watching the north.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, haven't you got your own spies? Like, is no information going around? And does that mean you can't travel anywhere now? So you're deciding to take the longer route because you know that Sauron's watching that route, and you've got more of a peril going that route, where you could go the northern route, which is the shortest route, and still you run the risk of Sauron watching. How does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing in the show makes sense.
But they do it because we see later on that it leads into a plot point.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just really confusing about how much about the Barrow Downs and the Barrow Whites do the elves actually know here, because it's so contradictory. Like, at this point, it seems like, is it that one elf or Galadriel's the only one that knows about it and its existence and what resides there? Everyone else is completely dumb. And then later on, Elrond's just like, oh, according to the ancient lore, it's just blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, do you know about this place or do you not? Because it's so, nothing about it marries up at all. So the Barrow Downs were, I believe they were made in like the First Age. I think it wasn't until like the Second Age when people from Numenor and like Elendil set up the kingdom there. And then you have the kingdom of Angmar and the Witch King infiltrating and sending out evil spirits. So the Barrow Downs exist, but the Barrow Whites wouldn't exist at this point. They would literally just be burial mounds at this point. So, yeah. Let's just get to a few comments and then we'll jump into the next scene, which is Gandalf meeting old Jolly Tom. Wonderful. We have got Molecule. There you go. That's kind of cool. 2 archers, 1 swordsman, and no horses. We're in no hurry, but have to stretch this extra spacey Lembas for 5 seasons. It's very, very, very true. We've got Brinsley. He says he's all caught up. And Bath Time says, oh my God, it's the lads. It is. We're back by popular demand, hopefully. Worst episode, or it's that still the one where they gave the origin of Mithril? Ooh. That's a good call. I don't know. I can't remember what else happens in that episode. I just remember the Mithril thing and like the weird little flashback elf fighting the Balrog on the mountainside thing. Bath Time says, I mean, it's a really rubbish version of the Pass of Caradhras from the first film, innit? That's the feeling I got they were going for. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Yeah, they can only go so far and they have to double back and, will you risk a more dangerous road kind of thing? Maybe. I must admit, I didn't think of that when I watched it, but now you've mentioned that, it kind of is. There are a lot of comparisons to other Lord of the Rings shit, though, in this. Like, especially when you get to Nori and Poppy. There's like a few moments there. We'll get to that. Senor Legolas needs to lay off the Lembas. He's put on the pounds in series. He's cultivating mass. That's what he's doing. Right. Gandalf is wandering, looking for Poppy and Nori.
Is he?
Oh, apparently. And he hears some singing, kind of. I don't know about. Okay, Tom Bombadil. He's quite jovial. He's jolly. He's sing-songy. I think all of his dialogue in the book is meant to be sang, right? I get that impression. He is mysterious. He's enigmatic. He's all of these things. He's super powerful, but he's just a little bit silly. He's just kind of like this fruity forest-dwelling fuck that hangs around in the old forest. And he's cool, and he's very divisive, I think. I think most Tolkien fans like him. I must admit, when I tried reading the books for the first time, I attempted 5 times, could not get past Tom Bombadil. I really, really struggled. Since then, I've come to admire old Tom a little bit. But the singing here, like, it's Rory Kinnear, isn't it? I think the actor, like, the actor is really good. Like, I've seen a bunch of stuff that Rory's done, and he's genuinely really good. He looks so fucking bored playing Tom Bombadil. Even like the singing and the lines that were delivered from the book just felt so half-assed, like he really didn't give a shit. And even the look of Tom. Like, how do you fuck this up? What is it? Blue was his jacket, and his boots were of yellow. And he's kind of like dour and a little bit angry and depressed. He reminds me of Beorn from the Hobbit movies.
Yeah.
That kind of personality a little bit more. but just none of the qualities that you'd expect from a Tom Bombadil. Not to even mention that why is Tom here? He refers to people. People in the old forest call me Bombadil, Tom Bombadil, and it's like, well, you're in Rune, mate. Why?
Yeah.
You're a long way from home. So yeah. Well, what did you think to our introduction to good old Tom Bombadil?
Awful.
Yeah.
That's a word I use a lot for this show.
We'll be using it a lot more.
Yes. Absolutely awful. So we start off with it's Gandalf in it. So Gandalf's wandering around trying to find Nori and Poppy until he gets bored. And he sees a goat, doesn't he? He sees a goat. And then in broad daylight, he accidentally stumbles into Tom Bombadil. He doesn't even notice he's there until something gets chucked into his face. And you see Tom, no charisma. Like what you said, he's meant to be full of song, jolly. You know, he's meant to be the character that gives you a warm feeling. You don't take him seriously. He's really, really jolly. No, looks like he's just come out of depression. Like what you said, he's been to the old forest. Why the hell has he gone to Rune? Why? And then he's going to have to make his way back then to the old forest. What's his purpose? And he's meant to be impartial. You know, he doesn't care about otherworldly affairs. But we break that law later on. Oh, when we get the the task scene between them. I just thought he lacked the presence, to be honest. He shouldn't be somber. He's Tom Bombadil. And the fact that he doesn't gloat about Goldberry, one of the women in Tolkien's work.
One of the most powerful women as well.
Yeah.
What are we doing, Amazon? Where's our Goldberry? Oh god, yeah, no, I've got a note for Goldberry later. Yeah, I think that's the next scene, isn't it? Yeah.
It's one of them where she could turn up. She might turn up. But the problem is that if she doesn't, they've kind of done what the House of Dragon season 2 did. So there's a character called Nettles, who's I think she's more of a Middle Eastern, female character, and they completely scrapped that character. And you think, you've got someone in the lore who fits along the diversity lines. You have Goldberry. And then Tom Bombadil's ashamed. Oh, Goldberry? Oh, I didn't know that. Are you here?
He plays it off so weird. And it's not whimsical or mysterious. It's just random. It's not like any of the subtleties of the book of Tom's character, and you actually realize, oh god, this guy's really powerful and mysterious and everything. It's played so weird when you watch it in the episode, because you hear Goldberry's voice and I was like, okay, here we go. I was like, she's probably going to be strong, independent, and probably absolutely not of the description of her in the book, but hey, we get Goldberry, let's go. And then she's like a disembodied voice. It reminded me of I was going to say Norman Osborn, that's Spider-Man. But Norman Bates from Psycho. You know how he mimics the voice of his mom? Is it Tom Bombadil just throwing his voice and doing a Palpatine thing? I have been every voice you have ever heard inside your head, and he's just got a Goldberry voice.
Are we getting a schizophrenic Tom Bombadil?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so is this Goldberry communicating telepathically with him from the old forest, or is Goldberry this disembodied spirit of nature and of the day and of the morning? It's awful. Goldberry is an actual character in the book, undeniably. However you want to kind of quantify or qualify her power level and what she is, whether she is a Maiar, whether she's something a bit different, whether she's kind of the symbolizes nature and the changing of the seasons and whatever. But also with Tom Bombadil, and this is what really pisses me off, they do the same thing with the Stoors as well later on, is that they acknowledge where those characters should be geographically at that time. But then they're kind of, Tom Bombadil's like, oh, well, I heard the forests were dying and turning into desert, so that's why I came such a long way from home and set up in Rune to see what was going on. And it's like, so you've acknowledged where he should be. He should be in the Old Forest with Goldberry. He even sings about in this episode in Rune, like, oh, I'm going to go and gather some water lilies. I'm like, where? You're in the fucking desert. That makes sense for the Old Forest. It doesn't make sense in Rune. Why are you in Rune? Nothing makes sense. So, yeah, their one chance to actually cast Goldberry and have Goldberry in there. I don't think we're going to get her. Based on what we've seen in the trailers where we see Bombadil sort of decked out a little bit more, showing Gandalf that, like, desolate piece of land that's probably going to be in the next episode or two. I don't think we're going to get a Goldberry. And it's just hilarious because, yeah, as you said, like, this is a chance. We can do it. We can have an extra female character in there where it makes sense. And she can be super powerful and cool and enigmatic and everything you want. And they don't do it for some reason.
Yeah, but we got Old Man Willow.
Oh, God. Oh, that's my next note. I was like, Old Man Willow in fucking Rune. What, did they uproot him and replant him in Rune? Why are we doing this shit?
It's rather two things. It's rather that is Old Man Willow, and like you said, he's rather been planted in Rune and then emigrates, moves over to the Old Forest, or all trees around Tom Bombadil can't behave, and they just strangle everyone that they see.
And he just has to use that same calming down spell. You know, you should not be waking. Dig deep, drink water. Now I know what people are going to say. Well, in the extended edition of Two Towers, you have Treebeard and Fangorn Forest and Old Man Willow's there. I'm not too keen on that either, but I feel like integrating him there, although it breaks the lore and it breaks the canon of the books and everything, I totally get that. I'd say in terms of spirit, Treebeard and Tom Bombadil are quite similar, and for the necessity of adaptation, Peter Jackson couldn't contain everything. So I like in some way that it's a nod to those chapters that got removed, and they're in there in some way, shape, or form in spirit. And it kind of still feels in keeping with the world and Treebeard being a shepherd of the trees and the trees becoming angrier. Like, it fits more. Even if it does break from the actual canon and geography of where all of that stuff should be happening. It feels like it was coming from like a more like purer intent, I guess, in terms of adaptation. Whereas this, they quite, you know, as I mentioned at the beginning, they openly said, oh, we just threw it in there because it's something from the book that hasn't been adapted yet. And that's just, I mean, what is that? That's like key jangling, isn't it? What is that, like member berries or whatever you want to call it? But what are you trying to do? Are you trying to win over the hardcore Tolkien fans at this point, who are the only people who are going to know who Tom Bombadil is and Old Man Willow is and Goldberry and everything like that? Well, do you think you're scoring points by throwing this in there where you've completely butchered the lore and everything around it? I don't know who they're trying to win over with this.
No, I don't. I think it was something to go, hey, book fans, we respect the lore. Yeah. Do you now? So in that scene, so a piece of map goes onto the branch, doesn't it? Yeah. And then he tries to snap it off because he needs a staff, which I missed actually in one of the previous episodes. So apparently we've had a little hint that his name will be Gandalf within the show. And Nori
playing it as this big reveal still, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, what is my name? What is my purpose? Like, what the hell is this? A counseling session? What the hell are you doing? But yeah, then the tree, Old Man Willow, whoever it is, eats him up, and then obviously Tom Bombadil says the words again. But he doesn't say it in a jolly way.
No.
It's just half-arsed, takes his time. Yeah. But in the book, that's a pivotal point because it's a scene of tension. With this, it's kind of played off as comical. And I know you get the comical bit within the Two Towers as well, and I get that, but the scene doesn't make sense. If you take that Old Man Willow scene out of this Rings of Power, what do you miss?
Nothing changes.
What does it add? Nothing. All it adds is apparently he's got to ask the tree to give him a branch.
Wow. Is it implied that by Tom Bombadil's magic, that map floated away and landed on that particular tree in that place? Because right around that time, I think Tom Bombadil, the stuff he's saying is very cryptic. It's very sort of pseudo-mysterious. And then right after that, that's when the map floats away. So is that just fate? Was that just the wind that happened to blow it on that tree? Or do you think Tom Bombadil was behind that?
I reckon it was probably Tom Bombadil. I mean, you see him control the map again when he turned it into bread.
That's
Fuck the map. Whatever's on that's gone. Have
Wait,
some bread.
So all Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin had to do in the book then was go to Tom Bombadil and just say, like, hey, Tom, can you just give us like a stack of paper right now and just turn it into like loaves upon loaves of bread? I know Tom Bombadil's like magic and everything, but I don't know if transfiguration is part of his skill set. I'm not sure.
Oh, do you want to go on to the Nori scene next and then come back?
Yes, let's we'll cycle back to that. I'll just bring up a couple of comments and then we'll dive into that. And this is where the majority of the Lord of the Rings callbacks are with certain scenes. Just real quick, Brinsley says, I heard they are trying to bring Orlando back for the Hunt for Gollum movie. Yeah, I heard that too. Ian McKellen was on an interview saying that he'd like to come back for it. I'm like, he's really fucking old and the movie's not out till 2026. Hopefully he can still do it, but they're going to have to do some like Uncanny Valley de-age shit because this is not going to marry up, certainly for Legolas. And I know they tried to do that with The Hobbit. And I mean, look how it looked in that. Like, it was really... I don't know. And then Vigo as well needs to be in there because he's a huge part of the Hunt for Gollum. So if you haven't got Gandalf and Aragorn in there, what the fuck are you playing at even trying to adapt the Hunt for Gollum? So we'll see with that. Bath Time says Bombadil for me functions a bit like Elrond in the books, where it's meant to be a safe place with a bit of world building. Here's given the panache of an NPC quest giver. Yeah, he is.
Wow. He's more than that. He's Mr. Miyagi, apparently.
Yes.
In the universe.
I love this Bath Time. The twist is Goldberry is Waldrig.
Yes, he's not dead. Oh, I saw a comment actually that made me laugh and I thought of you. So someone said Waldrig's not dead because you don't see him die. You just hear the scream. Now, it's not Waldrig's scream. It's the walk. Waldrig's just battered him. Mate, if he can take on Sauron and beat him up, then surely a warg is nothing to him.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I'm just imagining him like tearing this warg to shreds, and he's just like covered in like gore and viscera and mud. And I mean, I don't want to think too much about Waldrig covered in mud. Maybe that's the live stream for a different time. And then just that scene from Predator where he does like the like screams.
Mate, I'll tell you what, I will forgive Amazon if they keep him alive. Keep him in.
Yeah, 100%. We need a Waldrig spin-off show. He's got to come back. So somehow Waldrig returned, and I'd be fine with it. Let's do it. No one's ever really gone. Baptiste says he was more frightening than anything. I couldn't believe what I was seeing until Duan Dibley showed up, and I forgot. Duan Dibley. Am I missing something with that?
I don't get that one. Bath Time, I'm sorry.
Bath Time, explain that to us. You're going to have to explain the joke, I'm afraid. It might not be as funny now, but we need an explanation for that one, please. Molecule says he was always a mystery decades later, and I still feel like I'm owed an explanation. Is that around Bombadil?
Probably.
See, I had when I was reading it, I thought, I really like the idea that, he's oldest and fatherless. He could be Ero Ilúvatar, sort of walking around in mortal form. Kind of like, I think Odin does that in Norse mythology under the guise of an old manor. It could be Zeus or something like that. I was like, well, then I don't know who's Goldberry, because he says that she's the River Woman's daughter, which implies that she's mortal, or Maya or something, has some kind of lineage. And then J.R.R. Tolkien straight up says in a letter, if you inferred that he's Eru, then you've totally missed the point. I was like, oh, shit. Okay, maybe it's not him then. Intentionally ambiguous, though, and I like that about it. They just throw in imagery, Goldberry, because they thought people would go, this is so cool. It's just like the original where it's a mystery. Yeah, we needed Goldberry, I think.
I mean, she's not going to be nude if that's what you after Bath Time. You ain't getting a nude reveal in this one. Although we do have a nude reveal later on.
Oh God, yes, we do. Yeah, I forgot about that. You mentioned in your review that Bombadil's looking down.
Yeah, and I got the photo of it as well. You can see his eyes are looking straight into the water. It's like, Tom.
Check it out. Well, I think he found Gandalf's staff right there, didn't he? I got that feeling that that Bombadil directed the map. They went full in on him being Eru Ilúvatar, which is directly against any of. Yeah, that's what I mentioned there. Brinsley says, I understand needing Gandalf and Aragorn, but why throw in Legolas again? Well, they do take Gollum to the Woodland Realm, don't they? Thranduil's Hall. So if you're going to have Thranduil in there, well, you may as well have Legolas in there.
Do you think they'll get Lee Pace?
Yeah, I think they will. What else is he doing at the moment?
That's true.
Oh, apparently it's a Red Dwarf reference. Here's where I'm going to have to admit, I'm sorry, guys, I've never seen Red Dwarf.
I know who Cat is.
Yeah,
from Red Dwarf, but I've not watched enough Red Dwarf to see his alter ego.
Mm-hmm.
But that is funny. That guy does look like Cat. Have you seen anything of Red Dwarf?
I've seen like the main cast, like the main group of characters, just visually, but I've never like watched the episodes or anything.
Right, I'll find the character if you. So I'll just find that. What is it doing? Right.
Yeah, everything in Middle Earth's on it, man. He's on the case. We will find it. But what are your guys' Tom Bombadil theories then? Let's hear it. So I think we can all rule out that he's Eru Ilúvatar himself. Do we think he's a Maiar? He's not really accounted for, though, is he? Do we think he's just some kind of one theory that I really did like actually was that Ungoliant was kind of the void. Almost like a nameless thing, really, like a Cthulhu-esque, entity. And I like the idea that when the song came into being, Tom Bombadil's kind of the echoes of the song of creation in some way, and it took form in Tom Bombadil. And Melkor's song of discord took form in Ungoliant. I kind of like that theory a little bit. But again, like, I don't know who Goldberry is. I just say like they're a Maya of some kind, like their power ability kind of aligns with that in a lot of ways.
Oh my god,
you got it.
I've got it. Yeah, right. I'm just gonna upload it. All right, we're gonna
have to say a partial goodbye to Waldrig just for a second.
He'll be coming back. Don't worry. The man, the myth, the sergeant. Right, let's have a. There we go. Right,
And which character are we saying this looks like? Are we saying Tom Bombadil looks like him, or
we are saying you'll guess? Guess who it is?
Oh, right, yeah, yeah.
I wonder who that is. Fucking Rufio. Who's it? Dwayne Dibley.
That's a good one. So yeah. Oh, right. Should we? I'm gonna try and move on. You should just leave that. Can you just leave that on for a few seconds? I think
yes.
That needs a bit of staying power, I think. Right, Nori and Poppy. These wonderful characters that we always love cutting back to. They hear horses, don't they? Or they hear approaching footsteps, and they stop, drop, and roll off a fucking cliff.
Yeah.
Which really, really reminded me of the bit where they're running away from Farmer Maggot in Fellowship of the Ring, and Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin fall off the cliff. Right after that as well, in a similar kind of way, where they run into Rufio, who calls himself Merrimack, and I'm like, you've taken like Meriadoc and kind of like fucked it up a little bit, so it's Merrimack. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a separate name, but it was just very close. But he's stealing water from the big folk, and it just reminded me of like, you've been in the Farmer Maggot crops, and they're having to like run away from something as they're being chased. Yeah, shortcut to mushrooms. There we go. Yeah, 100% that scene. But fuck me, this Rufio-like character. Jesus, I mean, you said it in your review. Like, this is, I think it is the most expensive TV show in history, isn't it? The Rings of Power. And that's the look. Someone okayed that costume, look, makeup, and everything, and was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, $1 billion TV show. Get it made.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
He looks smacked off his tits. Honestly. And you do think, you look at the costumes, you think, hold on, where's the money gone? This looks like something from Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
It looks awful. And the character, what the heck is up with him?
And they're shipping like a Merrimack Poppy romance thing, potentially. There's like that, you know, when they first meet and they're kind of infatuated with each other in some way.
Yeah, like, where the hell has that come from? I mean, I don't know if she's in love with him or just wants to eat him. We don't know. She's
Come here, I'm gonna eat you.
I mean, we've seen them eating bugs, so why not? And she's a fat bastard, so you should probably go for it. But you forgot something, by the way.
Oh shit! Sorry, go back.
The thing is, you say about them jumping off a cliff, and yes, they should be dead.
The show fucking drops off a cliff, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Just think, right? They survived a twister, so Gandalf's tornado, and then you find out later on that two of the trackers died from that tornado. Because the Dark Wizard said, "Oh, two of them are dead." Just think they survived that.
Yeah.
And like I say, the trackers find them, and the trackers do something so awful. So they find the hobbits and then decide, you know what, we're going to go back to tell the Dark Wizard we found them, and then we're going to go back out again.
Yeah, and he just says, "Oh, forget it, I'll do it myself." I'm like, well, why didn't you just do that in the first place? If you have the power and the ability to just get the job done yourself, which he clearly does because he's an Istar. So you sent these... There's been, like, no level of tension with these characters, have they? Do you remember in season 1 where they set up the whole... Is it like the wargs or the wolves are, like, approaching the hobbits or in the near vicinity? And they don't really do anything with it. At least I can't remember them doing anything with it. Maybe, like, the wolves get killed or something. But I remember them setting something up like that and then just not paying it off at all. Or any kind of threat level. The thing that's so great about the books and obviously the Peter Jackson films is when the ring wraiths are set up. And you have that really tense moment where you first introduce them. Well, you see them pouring out of Minas Morgul, which is terrifying. You've got like the choral music. So that sets up the intensity level of them. And you keep cutting to, flashes of them asking where Shire Baggins is, and that one where it cuts one of the hobbits in half. So the threat level's established. And then you get that really tense scene where they're hiding under the log and it's trying to sniff them out. The threat level is established all the way through, and it's maintained as well all the way through the prancing pony stuff and the culminating at Weathertop and the flight to the ford. Here you've introduced these Tusken Raider, Mad Max, bounty hunter like characters, and what have they actually done so far? There was the moment in like the other episode where Gandalf's like, "I hear hooves on the wind," and they just hide, and nothing was really done there, and then they just get blown away by a tornado.
Well,
and now Saruman's just like, "Oh yeah, forget it. I'll do it myself. You're all right, guys."
Well, again, they keep cutting away from them because the last scene we see with Gandalf and Tom Bombadil, you see them in the distance, and they say riders. Next minute, cut away.
Yeah,
and they've got these masks which are so awful. They're like from Poundland. These are meant to be intimidating. They're awful. And again, they've lost the trail. So they fall down the cliff, screaming, hit the ground. The trackers have lost them again for some reason. Fucking Dibley over here, right? Where the hell is he stealing the water from? Because Gandalf, Nori, and Poppy couldn't find water for ages. They couldn't.
Well, until they found that convenient placed well that just happened to be there at the time.
Yeah, miraculously they found that well. So did he go to that well? And then was he there present when all this shit happened? Because we don't know how long the time has passed.
Well, that's it. I don't know how far they blew away as well.
100%.
We never saw them land. They're now in a different place, seemingly a long, long, long way away from where Gandalf is, because he didn't move.
Yeah, he didn't move. Where are they? No injuries.
No sense of geography in the show at all. Like, I don't know where people are.
No,
and I mean, if he stole water from the big folk, then I guess he's just, doomed a small village of, people from Rune to like drought and death. So,
I mean, he's not doing it stealthily, is he? Because he's got, from memories, he's got a wheelbarrow.
He's got like a fucking cart, like a rickshaw thing he's dragging behind him. Yeah.
Like, how the hell is he sneaking that in?
And he's not exactly dressed subtly, is he? You know what I mean? So he doesn't like really blend in.
Yeah, the Harfoots and the Hobbits, who try to hide away. And the Stoors, who notoriously live by the river, somehow are in Rune.
My next note, I've got the river-dwelling Stoors, who are now multicultural and in a fucking desert. Like, I swear they're just doing this to piss me off now at this point. Like, they're looking at the books. The first thing you do, just Google Stoors Tolkien, and it will tell you everything within the first sentence. Even if you don't know loads about Lord of the Rings, but you kind of know like little bits about the Hobbits and the Deagle and Smeagol, they're fishermen. They live by the river. They love that shit. I think they're like the only hobbits that can swim. And you put them in a desert, and again, like this is what I mentioned earlier, where they have like the whole Tom Bombadil thing, and it's like, well, why is he in Rune? And he's like, oh, well, I do live in the old forest, but I ventured out this way to like find here and apparently built a second home in Rune. Ridiculous. But they do the same with the Stoors. Like they say, we dream of a place near a river and where the water flows. I was like, oh, so you're doing this bullshit prehistory where the Stoors actually originated from a desert and would have acclimatized themselves to desert existence to then move by a river for the Stoors that we actually know later on down the line. I'm like, fuck off. Like, I hate when they keep doing this stuff. And can we just talk about the look of the leader of the Stoors as well? Like, I knew this was coming because pictures released. And I mentioned to you, I texted you and I said, like, why is Mama Clump in this? Like, I just expected to go like, oh, fabulous. Yeah. Yes. I just wanted to show, Hercules.
Oh,
absolutely ridiculous stuff going on in this episode. My God.
I do love the fact that so you got I'm sorry, when you told me that reference, that cracked me. I've not heard that reference in a while. And my brother used to love that movie and quote it all the time. So
good.
Good old Sherman Clump. But we've got Forrest Gump, so we've got we got Rufio, who's so like, what the heck's up with him? Oh, my name is Mary, but whatever the heck. Yeah, he's like,
is it Lenny from Of Mice and Men? Is that? Oh no, actually no. Simple Jack. He's Simple Jack.
Someone fucking shoot the back of his head. Like, honestly, what an idiot. And the fact that he's saying about, he's got a village, and then they threaten him because he says he doesn't want to take him to the village. So why tell him about the village? So they say, oh, right, we're going to turn you into the guys down the road that are stealing the water. It's like, what? Why would you do that? What are you trying to gain? Like, imagine if he goes, all right, then go on.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do then? Nothing. But we've got to show him as being powerful. And he's got no brain cells, so he just goes along with it. And then we meet the borrowers. Absolutely awful. And this is another point that I've only just thought about since watching this, and you brought it up. So they're stealing water from this certain place. How have they lived this long without people putting a guard on that water? If someone's nicking their water supply, why is alarms not raised? And how have they been sustained in a place that's full of... Well, I mean, do they have like a food store?
They pretty much have everything, yeah. It's like a whole little settlement they've got going. And later on, the Tusken Raider, like later on in the episode, arrives there, doesn't he? He's sort of like, asks, like, "We hear you have been harboring Half-Foots, yeah?" And they're like, no, we haven't got anyone here. But so even bounty hunters know of Stoors. I don't think it's like a situation where hobbits, like the ones that we see in the Lord of the Rings, how people just aren't aware of their presence. People of Rohan have heard them in like children's stories. Sauron, they're like so small and insignificant, even he doesn't really know of the Shire. People are pretty much aware, I want to say, of the Stoors' presence in this realm of the world, right?
Yeah, because later on it seems like the masked crew already had dealings with him. He wasn't shocked about who they are, and he could tell the distinction between the Stoors and the Harfoots. Because why didn't they go, oh, okay, here we go, nick two of these. These are the Harfoots. Because how would the Dark Wizard know? He wouldn't know. But it's so awful. So we get Mama Clump. So they're introduced to the borrowers, and she's grilling them. Apparently, Forrest has come up with some rules that you can't say to her, and he's so stupid that he's forgot the fourth rule, so you can't backchat to her. So they give a back chat. Instead of, they did this with Galadriel. You're new to an area. You're trying to fit in. You're trying to woo yourself into the crowd. What do? They go on full attack mode straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And they attack, and then she bites back. And then Nori just brings up the stranger. Now, these Stoors have already had dealings with the Dark Wizard. And that's his name, the Dark Wizard. Thank you, Amazon. So fucking creative. So they've already had dealings with him. And then they decide, you know what, we're going to chuck you in jail.
Yeah, bind their hands, instantly.
And boy, I wonder how long this tension will last for.
It's a single scene, isn't it, I believe?
Oh, the next scene, they're out.
Yeah. Well, the next scene we've kind of already talked about. This one is the Dark Wizard. I'm just going to call him Saruman. Actually, I was going to bring this up. Do we still think he's Saruman? There is a line that Bombadil says where I'm like, okay, well, that's unquestionably Saruman now at this point. Part of me was thinking, are they going to do like a kind of blue wizard thing? I know he's not dressed in blue, so that would be completely pointless. But the fact that they established potentially like evil cults in the East, and I thought, oh, okay, we've kind of got like the cult of witch women, ringwraithy women people, and then we've got these Tusken Raiders people. So I thought there's grounds for it there potentially, how they might do a bait and switch. Bath Time just mentioned, he says he's either Kamul, Saruman, or Blue Wizard gone wrong in the hood. But I think it's the Tom Bombadil line for me where he says about if this Dark Wizard and Sauron unite, then I don't know, evil's gonna happen and bad shit. So I'm like, oh, okay, well that's foreshadowing for the stuff in like the Lord of the Rings, right? That's how I took it anyway. So I think it's pretty undeniable that he's Saruman, but maybe they'll bait and switch right at the very end, and it'll be someone completely pointless.
Yeah.
Let's just have a look at some of the comments here. I think this is in relation to Rufio. If you had to make a meth hobbit, that's what you'd come up with. Yeah, pretty much. Imagine if they make him into her Rosie and she keeps mentioning him on the rest of their trail. Oh, for God's sake, they're going to do that, aren't they? Oh my God, I never thought of that. They can't seriously be using the Tusken Raiders as stand-in for the Nazgul. Well, it's kind of like a mix between the witch... What are the witch women doing? Where were they? They were kind of all hanging around the Dark Wizard last time. Did he send them out on an errand? But I thought he said no, because they failed last time. So I'm going to send you Tusken Raiders out. And then they failed. And now he's just like, oh, fuck it. I'll do it myself. If you want something done, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah, it's like, why not do it before? And again, why have they not sent the Feminem who can turn into moths and butterflies and fly away? Why have they not sent them and they've just sent these Tusken Raiders? Why?
Yeah. There was a moment actually with Tom Bob, when they hear the horse whinny and neigh, and he's like, riders. When I heard the horse neigh, part of me, it's like, wouldn't match up with the time. But then again, we've got Barrow Whites, which doesn't match up with the time, and they're fucking with the timeline. I thought, screw it, why not? I heard the horse whinny. I was like, if you're going to jangle keys, I need some Fatty Lumpkin right now. Like, show me Fatty Lumpkin, like the best noble steed in the whole of Middle Earth. And I was like, yeah, it'd be a few thousand years old, wouldn't he? So probably not, but
I do love the fact that, how we get that scene when the tracker's saying, how two of the men have died, and the Dark Wizard said that he's harder than they originally thought. Did the witch women not say anything?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Did he not say, oh yeah, he's pretty powerful, like we struggled? And he thought, let's send these people to go in. What the heck?
Did they even, looking back, like if that's the last we see of them, is there any point of them in the show? What have they accomplished? Absolutely nothing.
Well, it won't be the last because they had a little tease. We get to see what's behind the mask.
Oh, can't wait for that. Yeah, well, I have a note for that later. It's his voice as well really reminded me of Bane.
Yeah.
Like this kind of agonized, like strained voice. Where have I got it written on here? I'm just having a look for the note. It's like, do you know why we wear these masks? No one cared why it was till I put on the mask. Yeah. Ooh,
do you know? Do we get a reason why the Dark Wizard wants the hobbits?
Not yet. No.
What's the purpose?
We haven't really had much of a motivation other than that he's like evil wizardman on throne who's got all of these evil lackeys, and apparently he wants the Istar dead, I guess, or bought before him, I think. And really, like, the hobbits were just there. Like, the Tusken Raiders were like, well, if the wizard doesn't give himself up, then we'll just kill the halflings. And that will convince him to come with us. And what are they going to do? Just, like, chuck a bag over him and tie it up? Like, how are they going to bring an actual wizard back?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. He would have had to have gone there anyway because, like I say, his toughest bodyguards, they failed against someone who couldn't speak English but now is fluent.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Awful.
We've got Tarylinian says he's trying to catch up. He's about 10 minutes behind. Any mention of Bombadil being Yoda yet?
Well, we mentioned he's a pervert, but we haven't mentioned he's Yoda yet.
I mean, Yoda's probably a pervert as well, let's be honest. All those lonely, lonely days in the Jedi Temple, you never know. Like, no one can convince me otherwise that he and Yaddle weren't up to something, because absolutely. That's an image for you. Would it be CGI? Would it be puppet? That wasn't their version of Weathertop, please, with fake Gandalf. I think it might be. Oh my god, they're cursed as well by a dark wizard. That's what they're meant to be. Jesus Christ. Yeah, they mentioned like they had like cursed flesh or something, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh, you don't think... I'm sorry about this. You don't think this is Saruman starting to play around with the Uruk-hai? Like, this is the original ones. This is the test. Could you imagine?
Oh.
These are the origins of the Uruk-hai. Could you imagine? Because why have the reveal? Why have it where it's such a big mystery? And he does look, and I definitely think he's Saruman, 100%, because Tom Bombadil mentions that he's an Istari.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And there's only 5 of the fuckers, so it's either him or it isn't Radagast. I can assure you that.
Well, there are 5 Istari, but Galadriel's probably going to show up and say, "Oh no, actually, we need an extra one," and then it'll be 6.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Actually, going back to that, I'm surprised they didn't stick with 5 because, you know, as we know, 3 is perfectly balanced, isn't it? So let's go with another perfectly balanced number like 5.
Yeah, why not? Fuck
it's like that quote in Hercules where it's like, "Oh, sorry, Herc, we already got 5 and we want to keep it an even number." Agree completely. Lobelia Sackville Baggins was the real blue wizard. The fucking hell, the Moth Maids, Jesus Christ. Sounds like a shitty like deathcore band, doesn't it? The Moth Maids probably told Dark Wizard their most powerful enemy was Lenny Moses Henry. He's gonna lead everyone to the land of milk and honey, isn't he? And then and then die before he gets there. Oh shit, oh my god, he is Moses. Yeah, oh my god. This is can I just
Celebrimbor.
actually
Celebrimbor, everyone.
Like, it's even like the GIF that I posted on my channel the other day. Those really shitty adverts they did for season 1 with the black background, where he's just like,
yeah,
it kind of looks like.
Oh man,
when he is, and oh my god, it's complete, isn't it?
Yes.
Can I just say, this episode that we watched, Eldest, is my least favorite episode of the whole show. But can I say that this episode, this live stream is probably one of my favorite ones that we've done. I'm actually like crying. This is fucking brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's proper therapy. I'll tell you that. Really I'm loving it.
Brinsley, there you go. Wishes your command. Bath Time says it can't be Saruman. They've got him fighting Nazgul in The Hobbit. Even those clowns can't do that. Well, yeah, I mean, Saruman is not meant to be inherently evil at this point. Far from it. He was good for a time, and he didn't turn to the dark side really until much, much later. But it's Rings of Power, isn't it? We don't care about that shit. We cut back to Tom Bombadil. So we've kind of mentioned a lot of this already. I've just got an angry emoji about him quoting Tom Bombadil from the Third Age. Doesn't make any sense why he's quoting it here. It's just pointless fan service, and it's not fan service done well. Goldberry is a random disembodied spirit. Not a fan of that. And then Bombadil, these really, really strained metaphors that the writers of this show like to throw in all the time. And I didn't write the exact quote down. I should have done, but he's sorry.
It's the lips, Luke. The lips, the ears.
Yeah, Brins, it is scarily accurate. Like, even just the picture of Yaddle, I could see it.
The forehead. Look at him. Who suggested it? Was it Brinsley? You have discovered something, my pal.
I can't. I'm fucking tapped out. I can't. My stomach hurts. Oh, forget ab training. I think I've got it from an hour of the so far. Ow. About a real Yoda character. Yeah, Phantom Menace, Yaddle. You don't know Yaddle? She's on the Jedi Council. If it hadn't been for that scene, I was like, other than that one scene, do we actually see Yaddle and Yoda in the same room as each other? I'm just saying, Yoda might like to get freaky, but yeah, I can confirm that it's a real Star Wars character. Okay. Yeah, the strained metaphors. Tom Bombadil says something to the effect of, a staff is like a name. If you're worthy to wield it, you already can, or something like, I don't know. It's some like pseudo-philosophical bullshit that just sounds terrible. And I just have a note with just saying, yeah, the Dark Wizard is Saruman then. It's pretty blatant from Tom Bombadil how he talks there. And yeah, so I think we've summed up everything we can on the Tom Bombadil stuff. I think we kind of merged it into one there, but right after that, we got the Barrow Downs, unless you've got any other notes on the Bombadil stuff.
No, it was just that it definitely is Saruman. The fact that they've linked, the Dark Wizard with Sauron teaming up together, causing fire and destruction of Middle Earth. There's only one person that's going to be.
Yeah, it's like the union of the two towers. It reminded me of that scene where
So, and the other thing, actually, there's one thing that really pissed me off, actually. I'm sorry, but Tom Bombadil is meant to be impartial. He's not meant to have any dealings with worldly affairs. Yet he's a major player in this. He's telling Gandalf what he's got to do. You know, he's giving him his tasks in life. So my question is why the hell was he not involved more later on? When it comes to the rings and that, why isn't he a big major player if he's got such concern and he knows what's happening in the world? He knows of Sauron. Why isn't he doing more?
Well, that's it. And I think in the book, when they get to the Council of Elrond, they say like, oh, well, the ring has no effect on Tom Bombadil. Why can't we use him? And then Elrond's like, or Gandalf's like, he wouldn't help us. We can't trust him. He's too addle-brained. And it's just like, oh yeah, played that off. It is a little bit of a loophole, I suppose, in the book, but I think they mention, and it might even be in this scene, Gandalf or Elrond mentions it. I thought Bombadil's power had like a kind of range. Like it had sort of like a perimeter around the old forest, and that's where he was strongest. Not to say if he went away from there that his powers would just disappear, but I thought he only concerned himself with those kind of borders around the old forest and, like into the Barrow Downs and whatnot. But now he's just taking a vacation to Rune. And leaving, he's still like as powerful as ever and omniscient and all powerful and everything, omnipotent. I don't know. I might be wrong about that. Someone can correct me. I know we've got some like learned Tolkien scribes in the comments. But I seem to remember them saying that Tom Bombadil had like a kind of border that he was strongest at, and that was like his province basically. But yeah, right. The Barrow Downs. I mean, the lore we've mentioned is just scattered to the wind with this stuff. It really is like, yes, the Barrow Downs. Yeah. I've got as well a note. The Black Elf dies first.
100%.
We're carrying that trope.
Why is it always the Black Elves?
Like, do you all feel seen? Do you all feel like included now? It's like, hey, you can tag along for the ride. you're not going to have any lines, you're not going to have any character, and you're going to die first. But hey, you got a head count, right?
Yeah,
What
Asian elf.
Yeah.
Chuck him in.
Does the Asian elf have any lines of dialogue either, or any character? Do we know her name?
No, I just remember that she shoots an arrow
Yeah.
at the Barrowites when they tell him to stop attacking. It's like, oh, there's a language barrier going on there. That wasn't even meant to be filmed. She had a real bow and arrow and just shooting, and it's like, cut, just so, yeah, re-roll. Okay. Absolutely awful. And to be fair, if you look at them, they do look like the Power Rangers. Because you have the black elf there, you have the Chinese elf, you have the one is it Tommy, the one in the middle? Let's break
it down. So yeah. Elrond would be Tommy, right? Elrond would be the Green Ranger.
Yes.
And then Galadriel would be Kimberly.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Yellow Ranger would be the Asian. The Black Ranger would be the Black Elf. And then you've got the two other fuckwits that are along for the journey.
Yeah, there's a ginger one. So you've got a ginger, an Asian, a Black Elf.
You covered all bases, haven't you?
Yeah.
They pick a ginger as well. You pick the whitest motherfucker you can bring along for this as well.
Oh, yeah. But you won't catch him in Rune. I'll tell you about that. Oh, but the Power Rangers are back and they've gone south like the show. And what did you guess? It's the wrong decision. Mm-hmm. Whose fault is it? It's Elrond's fault, isn't it? And they are in the Barrow Downs. They already know about this region. And
Galadriel knows everything about it, apparently. I'm like, why is she the only... Because at that point, it seems like she's, of course, right? She's the only one that knows about the epic lore of the Barrow Wights and the Barrow Downs and everything. But then later on, Elrond whips out some knowledge of the deep lore, which is convenient for that moment. But at this point, it seems like Galadriel seems like the only one who's clued up about where they are, what they're fighting, and, what's going down.
But then how does Elrond know? How does Elrond know how to fight them? Because
it's not... And, they're fighting and they're doing the kind of... Paths of the Dead thing where they're firing arrows and it's phasing through them and they're trying to chop them up and they keep reforming. And that's my positive. I thought the way that it kind of reforms initially and it like snaps back together, I was like, that's kind of cool. Creepy imagery with the Barrow Wights. I kind of like that. There you go. That's my positive on this episode.
We've got one. But
and then after they've tried this for about 5 minutes and they're not getting anywhere, I don't know, is this Blue Ranger or Red Ranger shouts, they're impervious to our weapons. It's like, yeah, no shit. Thank you.
Really? Yeah, because we have an awkward montage of them all trying it, and there's no communication apart from, like you said, and then the Chinese elf just blasts an arrow again. Wasn't scripted. And they all stop. But before that, we have the gang. They find the dead messengers, don't they? They find that they've been attacked and hold a prayer for the unnamed elf, who no one knows his name. I don't even know if Amazon actually credited him. I'd love to see what his name is credited as. Mm-hmm. So he gets attacked. So a chain just darts out as quick as lightning, gets him, pulls him. None of the elves react, apart from Galadriel. She's the only one. The rest of the elves just stand around, looking around. And then Galadriel just lets him go. She's meant to be so strong. And then just lets him die. And then you get this gory sound effects of him getting crunched to death.
Yeah.
And you think, and this was their horror sequence. Where was the horror? The only horrific thing was that noise. Mm. Because they defeat him straight away. You have Galadriel gets caught by the wires, by the chains, but someone broke the scene down. So apparently during that scene, so she gets pulled away, and as she's going into the Barrow Downs, apparently Elrond's far away, so he isn't even in shot. Right. It was the ginger elf that was running towards Galadriel to save her. Mm-hmm. But within the editing, they've fucked it up. They then cut it to Elrond that saved her, and the ginger elf is far away.
Well, they probably think it would be a stronger character beat to have that Elrond Galadriel tension, maybe. That seems like it was either like a reshoot or like a last minute decision, maybe, in the filming process. But they didn't go back and refilm the continuity, the scene before it.
Yeah. And so she's saved by Elrond. Does she thank him? I don't even think she does she?
No, I think it's just like a quiet standoff, isn't it? Like a stare off between the two.
Yeah. Now, here's for me, it's not the greatest solution, but it's one solution I thought of. So Elrond already knows of the law, apparently, and that's why they use the weapons.
He tried to fight them for about 5 or 10 minutes before and was getting nowhere. And he's just like, according to the ancient law of the Barrow-wights and the Barrow Downs, they can only be killed by their own weapons that they were buried with. I'm like, do you want to open with that, maybe? She got surrounded? Because he just fucks off, doesn't he? As soon as he saves Galadriel, he just makes a beeline, disappears. And then he just comes back with, like, I got swords for everyone. Like, catch one. And then, all tension is immediately just dissolved and they just get taken out.
Well, like
again,
you said,
I'm just left there at the end of the scene, like, so what was the point in all of that? Did we really need Barrow-wights? Did we just need an action beat? Yeah, that's what I mean. What was the point? Because they ain't going to come back. They've been bested. They've been defeated.
Well, they said that they wanted them because, it's never been seen before. And wouldn't it be cool to have Barrow-wights on screen? But
before the 9 rings have been created, before the 9 kings of men have been corrupted, and before the king has asserted himself in, the realm of Angmar and the fall of that. And sure.
Let's go for it. But one solution that could have worked for that is, say that they don't know about the area and they don't know about the Barrow-wights. And so they're fighting and they're losing, and let's say Elrond stumbles and somehow there's a sword. It could be within the mound or something like that. And he grabs the sword, and that's his last defense. It's his last chance of survival. So then he uses the sword, strikes one, sees that they've died, and then it's like, oh, okay, this sword does something, and then they can figure that out. But why not open with, they've got the old swords, that'll do them in. Why not go for that? And again, it's over within an instant, because as soon as they find out, that's it. It's done. They have a montage of them killing them.
I think it's in the book. It's not so much they're killed by the own weapons that they're buried with. Hang on, let me just have a look here. Victims were laid on a stone altar and bound in chains and killed by a wight with a sacrificial sword. Yeah, the swords were just like left buried with them. And I think Bathtime says, how come they weren't using the weapons they were buried with? Well, I think they would be, because in the book, it's really the sunlight that gets rid of them, isn't it? Like, they're strong in darkness because they're, evil, malevolent spirits. And then when Tom Bombadil shows up and daylight rises, that's when their power diminishes. I don't think it's them just getting hit with their own weapons, which is very strange.
Yeah, and like I said, to find out that law, someone must have been there already, figured it out, had it written down, so they must have already knew about the Barrow-wights. So why have they gone so underprepared?
Yeah. Nothing about this makes sense. They're throwing it all in, but they're not thinking of like the inner workings of things, which Tolkien was really meticulous with. Apparently, we have names for some of these Go-Go Power Rangers. The Asian elf seems to be named Ryan. Clearly named after the destroyer of Star Wars, right there. Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, Tolkien's names. You've got Galadriel, Elrond, Ryan. Brilliant.
And the black elf seems to be named Brank.
Brank.
Wait, what's the name of the Tusken Raider guy? Because that's something similar, isn't it? It's got like the little punctuation over the A. I thought that was Brank.
Oh, I don't know. But I've got another name for you that I didn't know. Do you know the Grandma Clump? Do you know what her name is?
I don't know.
Gundabal.
Gundabal?
I thought of Gundabad. I was like, what the heck's going on here?
These are Gundabal stores. They will outrun you.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, that's an evil sounding name, isn't it? God.
Gundabal.
Gundabadul.
Awful, mate. Absolutely awful. And
Speaking of awful, I don't know if you've got any more notes on the Barrow White scene, because we are getting to the part where this episode screeches to a halt. As if it hasn't done already, we're joined with the host of the most uninteresting fucking characters I think I've ever seen in a TV show ever. Like, all of these characters would just sucked the life out of anything. There was no personality, no charisma, nothing. It was a vacuous moment of time in an episode that I watched. And of course, it's Arondir, Isildur, and Estrid. See, I'm still forgetting a name.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
My first note is Arondir is doing something. That's how he's just wandering around the woods, isn't he? Does he find like a corpse or like a body or something? Or
yeah, so they're looking for Theo.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite character. And they're wandering around and he stumbles across, I think, a body that's missing a few limbs. Which doesn't make sense when you come to the prison later on. So the body's there, and then they go back to the village. So he tells the village, then the villagers want to go to war against the Southland men, even though they're already at war. It was established in last season they're already at war. And you have this conversation, and my God. So they're trying to calm them down. They're trying to see which way they want to go, because that's what everyone's doing in this show at this point. But Isildur says this line, and it's awful. He says, "Every minute wasted is another Theo out there." What the heck does that mean? Are we looking for Madeline McCann? Like, what's going on? Like, what's that mean? Who cares about Theo?
It's when you say the lines out loud again, it just reaffirms the writing quality of this show, doesn't it? That's brilliant.
I'm not joking.
One of my favorite lines so far.
I'm not joking. I had to listen to it 3 times because I was thinking, hold on, is that right? Every minute wasted is another Theo out there. What the heck is this?
Someone wrote that. Someone wrote that line.
So they want to risk everything for Theo, who it's his fault why this has happened with the sword hilt. And he's grumpy because his mum kicked the bucket. I mean, she didn't want to return. Sorry. So they're arguing
with Arondir again. Sorry, because I know that they've like orchestrated this like bullshit tension, which is just immediately diffused at the end of this episode. But I missed that because I thought he was quite pally with Arondir, wasn't he? In season 1, he was just, or at least tolerated him. But then this season, does he blame him for his mum getting shot with orc arrows?
Yeah, so I think he blames him for her death because he did the healing process. But again, that's forgotten at the end of the episode. So he's a racist, apparently. He doesn't like black elves. So, I mean, he'll hate Galadriel's crew, I'll tell you that. But, so they're talking, and then you get more chemistry between Isildur and Estrid. Now, Isildur's legs healed perfectly. Yeah. How much time has passed? We don't know. It was a pretty bad stab. Fuck it, he's okay. He's sound.
Did Galadriel randomly show up and use the power of the ring to force heal him?
Well, no, unfortunately not. So he's healed. Now, Estrid, we find out, is already betrothed to someone. You wouldn't think that, would you, by the way that she's reacting?
Oh, no.
She's all over Isildur. He's all over her. And this is meant to be Isildur becoming a man.
I was going to say, at this point, Isildur's just an old man at this point, isn't he? He's the most masculine thing in Middle-earth, goddammit.
He's really finding himself into, he's fought Shelob. He's got Estrid now. He's been stabbed by her. This doesn't make sense, actually. So she's meant to be with the Southlands, who were in the last episode, who Isildur killed, and she was happy with that. She was fine with that. Yeah. What's her motivations? Oh, fuck knows. I don't know. But so they're bonding, but then Arondir spots something. he spots the brand on her neck. Now, this is a perfect opportunity. So she's already said she wants to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's ashamed of it. Instead of owning up to it, perfect opportunity, she throws a pot at him. Just launches the pot.
She gives an excuse first, and she says, "I fell asleep next to a fire."
Wow,
And
so your hair...
got that one mark on the back of her neck.
Oh, yeah, so, you know, the hair wouldn't go up.
No, exactly. Yeah. It's the shittest... And then she throws the pot at him, right after that terrible excuse. Yeah.
Absolutely awful. And then she's in chains now. She's arrested, and Isildur's still dumbfounded. He isn't happy. But yeah, the chemistry between them, straight away, they've only known each other for how long? And they're building up this love interest. She's rumoured to be his wife towards the end of the show.
The acting's just so bad, isn't it? Like, I don't know if it's coming... Well, the writing doesn't help, definitely, but even just the performances, like, there's no chemistry, there's no... Just, especially like even Isildur's pretty shit as well. I actually didn't mind Elendil in series 1. Like, everything, all the material he got was terrible, and his costume looked awful. But I thought the actor was okay for Elendil. But Isildur, you just get nothing. He is just a vacuum of a character. All of these characters are. Theo, especially, Estrid and Arondir. Fucking hell, Arondir just looks like he's sleepwalking all the way through it. And it's the culmination of every single uninteresting character all rolled into one. Like, at least when it like cuts to Galadriel and Elrond, I'm like, Elrond's trying to put her in a place. I don't particularly like the performance of Elrond, but like, it's fine. Galadriel, there's always something to rant and rave about, right? The Hobbits, you just like, what are Nori and Poppy doing? Like, this is shit. This is awful. There's something. It's usually anger. It's usually hatred directly towards it. When it cuts to these, it's just someone's just pulled the plug. Flatline. For every single minute of screen time that I have to waste on fucking Theo and Arondir. Like, yeah.
But this is a major character, though. Isildur's a major player.
I know, yeah.
And yeah, he's just so bland. What's he done this season? So he's fought Shelob. Fucking hell.
You know, when you say that, my brain has to kind of process that scene again. I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen. It makes me so mad. God damn it. Just thinking about that.
The thing is, I wish I was joking.
I know.
But I'm not. Yeah. It's confirmed. What a shit show. What an absolute joke. So after the interrogation, what happens? So do they start walking, don't they? They start going somewhere. Where are they going?
Well, I've got a small note that says Theo is in a tree prison. I think it cuts to him first before the next bit. And, this is where I was going to mention Bath Time, your comment on Everything in Middle Earth's video on the latest episode, saying that it's like the Martian cages from War of the Worlds. And you're totally right. Like, I was watching it and I was getting like similar vibes to something, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And you're absolutely right. It's just clearly, you know, cliffing off that, isn't it? Because the Ents now can form prisons within the tree. And you got like carrion birds and stuff that are trying to get in and whatnot and pick them clean. But then, yeah, after that, then Arondir, Estrid, and Isildur are walking through apparently the Swamp of Sadness or whatever it's called from Neverending Story. And they start thinking it's like, Artex! And they just start sinking underneath the quicksand, the mud.
Yeah, I just wanted to say actually about the prison stuff. I love how the Ents have come up with this system.
Yeah.
You know, how they can decide who can go in prison, yet that guy with an axe, he's dead. Done. Well, we see how violent they are later on, but Theo, I never thought, and I keep saying this within my videos, and I hate it, but I keep saying I never thought I would see Theo in an Ent prison.
Yeah.
Fucking Shawshank over here. Fucking, and you look at the prison, you could easily get out. There's like there's massive gaps, but no, they're just stuck there. And Oh, I wonder what the tension's going to be with that. I wonder how long that's going to last for. Well, like you say, you get the three wise men, and they're walking around, and they're talking, and Isildur had to fall into the mud, because this is him becoming a man.
Mm-hmm.
And then Arondir goes to save him, and then ends up doing blackface when he comes out. You got all that mud on him. And I love the fact that we see it later on with Estrid.
Mm-hmm.
So she has a choice. So they're both presumably going to die. Now, she could run off and be free and go to her people, or she could help. And she helps, and then we get the Witcher monster, whatever they're going there. Mm-hmm. And again, you build up this tension, and it's dead straight away. And then they pull him out, and then Arondir, I don't know, does he free her then, or is it later on that she gets freed?
I think it's later on, isn't it? Later. Right after this, because she puts the stick in the mud, and then she starts pulling. I thought, she ain't going to be pulling two fully grown men out of that mud, is she? Like, is that what we're about to do right now? Like, Arondir tries and he falls in, and then she tries and pulls them both out. But yeah, we get the nameless thing, and we get that fucking line drop. There are nameless things in the deep places of the world.
Oh.
What, and the nameless thing, I guess, is just like it reminded me of one of the, the worm that eats Andy Serkis in Peter Jackson's King Kong?
Yes.
In the bug pit. It kind of reminded me of one of them. But it eats both of them. It eats Arondir and Isildur. And then when she pulls the worm out so far, he cuts it open from the inside like Hercules with the Hydra. And then both of them just climb out of the neck, like the stomach, but they'd still be submerged under mud, wouldn't they? They'd still have to swim through however many feet of mud to get to the surface. So I don't know. The editing in that scene was just really awkward and quick, and we just see Isildur, who's already out of the mud, on the side of the bank. Very weird. Yeah, Bath Time says in the bog of eternal stench. Yeah, whichever 80s fantasy movie bog you want to go for. Yeah. And then there's a bit where he says, these are nameless things in the deep places of the world. However, we shall call this one supper. And he has a bit of meat on the stick, and you're like, yeah,
because that makes sense, doesn't it? You got something that you don't know if it's poisonous. It's a deadly creature, but here we go. Here's food. And have they not packed any food for the journey?
Yeah, apparently not. Yeah.
What was the plan? They're just going to walk there, no water, no food. I don't know. It's like a Max and Paddy episode. They just go wherever they want to go. Oh, well, we've got... I don't know if you have anything else to say about that scene, but we've got
we've got the prophecy of the Kwisatz Haderach now, haven't we? With I've got Mama Clump showing Nori the mural of the Suzat, the Promised Land, the Shire, or whatever it's going to be.
You just think, right, that Nori and Poppy are going to be the reason why the Shire exists. That's a sorrowful thought, isn't it? Because that's what they're building. Because why the hell would they...
Yeah. It's amazing grace.
Why the hell would they show us the law? And who asked to know how the Shire was created? And what is it? So they're imprisoned, aren't they? And somehow Rufio's there. She's imprisoned her son for some reason, and they're going to kick him out. But they stopped that because somehow they mentioned Sardok, is it? Lenny Henry's character?
Yeah, apparently they're aware of him.
Yeah.
Something. They know of him, yeah.
And he's like fucking Moses.
Mm-hmm.
And he's meant to bring all of the hobbits together, bring the Stoors and all the Harfoots all into one place. The Suat, is it? What it's called?
The Suzat, yeah.
Suzat.
Yeah.
And you know that these are going to fulfill the prophecy. And when you think about that, you look at Frodo, your Bilbo, Sam, Mary, Pippin. None of these would have existed without Nori or Poppy. The original Shire occupants.
So these are going to direct them to, the promised land of the Shire. We had Waldrig, who creates Mordor by plugging a sword into a thing. We have Forodwraith becoming a thing by Sauron getting stabbed by a few orcs and then turning into Elsa from Frozen.
Yeah, you have Nenya is fucking a healer now. You have all of this new lore.
God, it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. But I will say, I did get one laugh out of this scene, and it's where the Tusken Raider Inquisitor guy shows up and just fucking pimp slaps the leader. He walks in, just fucking takes her out like silence.
I love how I've got this scene made me angry, to be honest with you. So I'll let you go first, and then I'll get me anger out after.
Well, he rocks up and he's like, as I mentioned earlier, he's like. What's his name? Christoph Waltz's character from Inglourious Basterds. He says, like, you've been harboring halflings. We know they're here. And she's like, halfling? What? No, there's only Stoors here. It's so convincing, like. And he's just like, okay, well, we will be back tomorrow. So we hope you're telling. And he just leaves. I'm like, if you were anywhere kind of imposing, you would like, you know, like the Goblin King, where he's like, start with the youngest. So like, we're going to take the thumb and forefinger off every single person here until you tell us where the halflings are. That's the kind of people they should be, right? You know, merciless in their quest to find this for the Dark Wizard, lest their flesh become more ruined and cursed by the Dark Wizard. And he just leaves. I'm like, oh, great. You know, you really did a full sweep of the place, didn't you? You really checked it all out. Great stuff.
Yeah, he's just like, this scene really angered me, actually, because so they go in and he's all threatening and he slaps her, bang, you know, showing authority. They already know about the Stoors, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't hide themselves very well, and the hobbits are meant to be, you know, hidden creatures, you know, not out there, but these aren't. And so he hits Minnie Mouse, and then this is the thing. So he wants the hobbits, the Harfoots. So he wants them, and she basically says no, they haven't got them, and they just leave.
Yeah.
Why? You've come in, you've threatened them. They even go and say, "Oh, we'll be back, and you'll find out the reason behind our masks, why we hide our faces." It's like, dude, you're meant to be empowering. You're meant to be, you know, threatening. You said you were going to kill these Harfoots, and you can't deal with these Stoors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These little small midgets who have got no army, not threatening. You've just backhanded the leader. And what, you're going to go back to then return? What, with more force? do the
Tusken Raiders know what the halflings look like? Do they have a name to it? Do they know that it's Poppy and I keep forgetting the names, Poppy and Nori? I mean, I know they probably look different, sort of like with the acorns in their hair and whatnot. I can't remember. Were the Stoors multicultural, or were they all like people of color?
Because
if they were multicultural, which, you know, every province in Middle Earth seems to be at the moment, they're kind of dressed wacky as well. So how would they be able to discern which ones are the halflings and which ones are the Stoors? Because, you know, they're still hobbits. They're still of like similar stature. Or have they actually seen them from afar and know what they look like?
See, because this what, you know, confused me, because if they knew what they look like, then, you know, it kind of explains why they don't. Well, it doesn't explain, but it gives a reason why they didn't go full on attack, because they'll be attacking innocent people. But but if they don't know, which I don't think they do, then they should just be killing everyone in sight. And why haven't they sent Eminem, who knows what they look like?
Exactly, that's what I mean. So I don't know if they've relayed that information, so they've got a face to the name. kind of thing, or if they just know that this random Istar is hanging out with a couple of halflings, and that's the extent of their knowledge. So it's like the Uruk-hai. They know that some of the halflings are carrying the ring, but they don't know, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin. They just know halfling. That's it. But I don't know if these actually know of Nori and Poppy, know what they look like. They've seen them before. They've been told information. Or if they're just like, oh, well, they're like hobbits, right? And then if hobbits hide in another province of hobbits, Stoors, well, they're just all going to blend in anyway, aren't they, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
I don't know.
awful.
Oh. Got a very, very short scene next. It's just Elrond and Galadriel talking about their task and the importance of it and what they need to achieve. But then there's a real weird moment where Elrond mentions his father, Eärendil, and he says, my father said that, I guess it was like a prophecy, that Celebrimbor's life would be in my hands at some point. What a strange prophecy.
Yeah, very random.
I mean, I don't think that. I think that's probably created out of whole cloth. I don't remember Eärendil saying anything about Celebrimbor, and certainly not to Elrond that it's it's prophesized that he'd save him or something.
I mean, again, why haven't they brought this up before? Why are they just bringing it up now? It's a pretty big prophecy if it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember, does Elrond bring it up or is it Galadriel?
Elrond mentions that about the prophecy. Yeah, that's Elrond who says that.
Right, okay. I've just got another comment actually about that scene, which really annoyed me. So the nameless elf dies, and it's a pretty big deal for an elf to die, and there's no lamenting over this elf. He's literally just buried. They just stand there whilst Galadriel and Elrond are arguing because Galadriel's saying how right she was. Like, it's so out of touch. And this is the problem because they haven't introduced the character. They've not built him up so when he dies, no one cares. They did it in season 1 with some of the elves. You don't care if they die. And I just love how you have Elrond and Galadriel still arguing over this. And boy, she is so bad during this scene. Because I think it's this one, I'm pretty sure. So she mentions about, how her dad had a vision of Celebrimbor, how his life will be in Elrond's hand. And then, so you have multiple visions that go on. She has a vision of the fall of Eregion and has another vision of Halbrand because, we have to ship that. We need to be reminded that there's a love connection between the two. And now, I'm pretty sure it's this scene. Elrond says that she can go. Like, do you want to go? And she's like, yes, I do want to go, but I want you to live. It's like, fucking hell.
Thanks.
Like, Jesus, cheers, Galadriel, thank you. And so her own selfish needs, she doesn't want to be there because she's not a commander. She can't rule, but she's got to because she's the best. That's the only reason. None of this hate for Sauron and, put aside all this, the hierarchy and that. Sauron's the main one to defeat. She's just like, yeah, I'm only here because of him. It was because I don't want you to die. Bad, isn't it? That's your main character. That's your main character. And then she says she makes Elrond promise that above everything else, he should focus on destroying Sauron. Like, what the fuck?
Like, well, what do you think he's here for? Like,
yeah. It's like, cheers, thank you for reminding me. Cheers.
Well, she has to bomb off on her own because she doesn't want, if she's not going to have Celeborn diminishing her agency, she's sure is not going to have Elrond do it as well because she is independent, She's going to, girls get it done. She's going to go off and do it on her own.
Well,
And
I've
on
got.
her own, she does. She takes out like a whole squadron of orcs single-handedly. So there's that.
Well, I'm pretty sure within the law. So where they are at the moment, they are in the old forest, aren't they?
Yeah.
By the Barrow Downs. Now, I'm pretty sure from the top of my head, chat, help me out if I'm wrong in this, that at some point, she's meant to live near that area with Celeborn.
Mm.
Now, do you think, because she's been captured by Adar, do you think Celeborn's just going to rock up at the end and rescue her? That he's been stuck in this region?
I don't think he's just going to rock up. I think if he is going to be introduced, I don't know whether it's going to be this season or if they're going to tease it for the next one. And Adar's going to hit her with like, or Sauron's going to say like, "Oh, I've got him prisoner somewhere," and she's going to have to go on a quest to find him. I think we're going to find him weak, in chains, malnourished, just completely wasted away. And she's going to have to take it upon herself to sort of, rescue him and bring him back. I don't think you're going to have like this ultra powerful elf Celeborn that's going to show up and save her, because they're going to want to maintain that image of Galadriel. So how do you maintain that? You have her husband, who's this weak, disheveled, completely broken, waste of human life, basically. Oh, and I remember. Do you remember when we did? I think it was our speculation video or something, or it could have even been like after our episode 1 where they showed you a trailer what was coming. And I said, "Oh, there's one part where you see like an orc cradling a baby," and I said, "Oh, I wonder if that's going to be like Celebrian." How wrong I was! No, it was Daddy, Mommy, and Baby Orc, wasn't it? That was what I was seeing.
Yes. How wrong could you be?
Oh, I know. God forbid.
Awful.
Like, I'm just saying, Celebrian needs to be a thing. Like,
yeah,
she's pretty sharpish. So,
yeah, because he's going to be a nonce.
Yeah, I know.
Just think of how many years he's. Just think of how many years he's got to wait for it to grow up, and just think how sick that is. He's fancied this little baby straight away. I mean, you are definitely not seeing Galadriel giving birth. No chance.
No. What have we got next? Oh, great. Back to Isildur. Wonderful.
Yes. Get him.
Yes. So, at this point, Isildur releases Estrid. And I just put, could this scene contain any more boring characters? Well, Theo's about to be introduced, so I guess so. Then the Entwife awakes, and this is the episode of Pimp Slaps, apparently. So you had the small woman getting pimp slapped. This Entwife wakes up, and like a fucking semi-truck takes Estrid the fuck out, like proper, like boom, like when the Ents rock up to Isengard, and you've got them just swinging and like knocking orcs through the air. That kind of swing. This is a tree trunk, like a pendulum, fucking swinging down, takes her out. She goes flying through the air, and just to sweeten the deal as well, smacks into a fucking rock. And I was like, oh, I actually burst out laughing. I was like, oh shit, well that's Estrid gone. I thought we were setting her up as Isildur's would-be wife. I was like, oh no, she, an Ent just took her the fuck out. Temporarily, she will be fine, not sustaining any injuries, broken bones, anything. She'll be fine. And then I have another note, and I actually haven't checked this. I put, is that Brienne of Tarth as the Ent wife? Because it sounded so much like Gwendolyn Christie.
Oh, let me have a look.
It probably isn't, but it just sounded like the whole like Captain Phasmary voice. It could be like the modulation they put on the voice, maybe.
Let me have a butcher's. So, was it Ent wife?
Yeah, I did they give a name? I don't think so.
Cast. Yeah, because they don't like to give names of the characters out.
Well, I'm surprised they didn't go so far and just say, "Oh yeah, this is meant to be Fimbrathil," which was the beautiful Ent wife that Treebeard mentions in the Two Towers book.
Right, let me have a look.
Why not?
Who voices? Right,
it probably wouldn't be. They'd probably just go with someone, what they would have advertised that maybe, but
Olivia Williams.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. It sounded a little bit like Brienne, a little bit in some parts, but
they play. So you have Jim Broadbent, who's in, who actually is in the Borrowers.
Yeah, who did he play? Was he the other?
Yeah, he's playing. So the Ent names are Snaggleroot and Winterbloom.
Oh, great.
Wow.
What? And one of them was Jim Broadbent.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't know. Usually, I'm good at like picking out his voice. He's got quite a distinctive voice. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know until I saw it pop up on the episode, and I was like, shit, I like that actor.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting paid at least. That's all right.
Yeah.
You know, good work. Silver, like,
bit.
there you go. There's another positive for the Rings of Power episode 4.
There we go. And we say we're negative.
Yeah, I
Wow.
know.
I mean, to be fair, we have come up with what, 2 positives and 1's a questionable one within an hour and 45 minutes. And we found was it Yodel?
Yaddle.
Yaddle, we found him. Mate, this scene really pissed me off.
Go on.
Another scene that pissed me off. So, what was the point? So, we play this scene where she's in chains. She releases herself because she does a good act. And so, Arondir gives the key to Isildur, I think, and gives him a choice to, let her free or keep her in chains. And so Isildur is so clumsy. He's like, oh, okay, I love you. I'm going to let you go. He's letting her go, by the way, showing very friendly signs. She then pulls a sword on him.
Yeah.
So you've just undone all of that good act. That's done. Why have you done that? If you really wanted to hurt these people or you wanted to get away from these people, then you should have just left them in the mud.
Right.
Because they would have died and you could have got away. So why the hell does she then do a U-turn and does this? It's because they needed the Ent scene, which then doesn't make sense. So she breaks all of the fucking character development and she's somehow ends up good again at the end of this scene, by the way. I don't know how. But the commotion causes the Ent wife to go fucking mental.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, she smacks her with a full force. So that's blunt force number 1. So you've got your trauma there. You also get that she hits herself against a rock. That's another blunt force. She should be dead.
Every bone in her body would be turned to dust.
Yeah.
She would be a stain. She would be strawberry jam on the side of that boulder.
Yeah. But no.
She's fine.
What is she? She's fine. She's okay.
Maybe Galadriel was around in the area, just like bing with her magic ring and just.
But I just think she gets knocked out by it. So how the hell is she? What, she been winded by it? So what? She didn't break any bones. She banged her head, and that's what knocked her out.
Maybe she was wearing mithril. I'm all right. I'm not hurt.
Oh, Galadriel left a ring about, and the fucking rock healed her head or some bullshit. But yeah, she's fine, so she's okay. And then Isildur does such a poor thing. He stands over her to try protect her, and please watch it back. Look at his face. He's not scared. He's like smiling. He's just got one arm above her. He doesn't try to drag her away. And then Arondir speaks. And then she just randomly says, oh, have you... I can't remember the quote directly, but was it something like, have you put axe to tree or something like that? And he's like, yes, I have. Well, he's got no hiding because his armor's full of wood. So where's he got that from?
Yes.
So how did she not notice that straight away? And then she goes mental. And I saw a comment saying, are you sure the Ents lost the Ent wives? Or did they just fuck them off? They're like, I can't be dealing with this. Every time of the month is fucking happening like this. No chance. So you have the Ent wife, so she's angry, and then all the other Ents wake up, and then they talk about again how the orcs have been felling trees, and they're sick of it. Where have we heard that one from? I mean, do you think we're going to get them fighting?
I don't think this is going to be the last time. I reckon, like, are they far from... It's all going to culminate, isn't it? They'll probably rock up at Eregion and just start, defending or attacking. Because why not? This episode felt so... It's probably just all the Ent stuff, really. It just felt so Two Towersy. to me in a lot of ways, just like with the lines and everything that are clipped from it, and it's probably just all the Ent stuff. But yeah, I don't think that this is going to be their one-time appearance. I do think we'll get them again, and they'll get stuck in those two. Well, we got to fill those 2 episodes, haven't we, of battle scenes? So,
I mean, yeah, because everyone knows when during the Battle of Eregion when the Ents turned up. Everyone knows that in lore.
Right, exactly.
Oh, but the Ent wife is still annoyed, and then Arondir asks her for forgiveness, and then she forgives him.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally the scene.
Yeah.
What do we learn from it? What do you learn from it, actually?
Honestly, that's where my notes end. My final note on that scene is how is Estrid alive? Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark. That's the end of my messages.
Yeah. I mean,
I was just so unenthused with all of these characters. And then you get like a moment where Arondir and Theo reunite and they're all like happy and lovey-dovey now. I'm like, oh, well, that was that gem of a fucking storyline tied up, wasn't it, from 2 episodes ago?
Yeah, it was literally done. And that was my point. I was like, and I kept saying it again, the tension gone. You have this storyline, you know, he hates him with a passion. And then that's done straight away. He saves him. The Ents just let them go. Let everyone out. All the prisoners are free. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the build-up? But you get the scene where Isildur runs over to Estrid. She's safe. She's fine. And then we find out one of the prisoners was Estrid's betrothed.
Ooh,
Bear in mind, a minute before that, she was all over Isildur as she woke up. But then she's all over this guy, and Isildur wanders off like he's sulking.
Mm-hmm.
This is the man. Isildur becoming a man, and he's
you do realise now we're going to get like a whole love triangle thing that's going to be crowbarred in there.
Oh, yeah, you know that. Or he's going to be an absolute dick to her, and then she's going to run away and that. But she's forgiven now. You know, turning a sword on Isildur, you know, threatening him. Nah, that's okay. That's all good. Let's let them all go. These Southland men that attacked you on the road, who are a threat, yeah, we just let them go now.
Mm-hmm.
They're all decent folk. And again, Theo's and Arondir are back together, and they say something. So Arondir's task is to fight Adar, and we see that, according to the Ballad of Damrod, that Arondir will be fighting Damrod, the troll. But he says that Theo is the king of the where does he say? Is it the Palagir? Oh, I can't say that.
Palagir, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to throw this out here. Hear me out. Do you reckon Theo will become one of the ring wraiths? Because we've not seen any other kings of men.
No, we haven't yet, have we? And the thing is, as well, because there's not much information on the king. We know that one's an Easterling. We know that specifically Camul the Easterling was like the second chieftain, wasn't he? And I think it's theorized, but not publicly said anywhere, that the Witch King and maybe a handful of other ones were Númenórean, or like black Númenóreans or something like that. But I don't think strictly apart from Camul that they've outlined, so they're going to get fan fictiony with it completely. So honestly, at this stage, nothing would surprise me at all. They could pick anyone to be one of the ring wraiths, and you'd get them. I mean, here was me a couple of videos ago saying that the moth maids were going to be the ring wraiths, which I don't think that's happening. I think, I was wrong in that assumption, but yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Oh God, could you imagine if they make him the Witch King? If Theo's the Witch King, how intimidating would that be?
Oh, you imagine that. Oh God.
Well, we see them crafting the 9 at least at some point in this series, don't we? So I don't know whether they're going to save that exclusively for season 3, and that's going to be like the big storyline for that season, or if we're even going to get that at the end of this one. But yeah, they haven't really set anyone up yet, have they?
Nope. Oh, we're on to the next.
Yeah, it's like the
last
final
bit.
stretch now. Yeah, so we've got the orcs marching to Eregion. And yeah, that was the scene where it hard cuts to an orc just like in the camera. And I thought, well, that's a far cry from what you were trying to push with the orcs in the last episode.
Yeah.
And then, I couldn't tell, like, I think they were just shot in at a horse, like a nearby horse, weren't they? That's initially what they were doing. They didn't go like, oh, there's elves there and this is their horse or something. I think they were just, for sport, trying to kill this horse. And then from there, they discover the elves' whereabouts. Now, I thought they were good at smelling, but they hear them first, don't they? And they smell them afterwards. And I'm like, surely it would be the other way around. Because they've got a pretty keen sense of smell, have the orcs. And one looses an arrow and hits one of the elves. And I swear you see this for a little bit. Like I remember seeing it impact and think, that guy just got hit. But then the scene carries on. And then it cuts them just slowly turning. And he's like, like he's got this arrow in him.
You know what it reminded me of? Have you ever seen Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah.
You know when the dad is dying slowly and he's like, oh, it's like, oh my God, because you hear it and then they all turn around and they're like, oh my God, he's been hit.
Yeah.
And oh my God, please take the floor with this one.
Right. I've offered a lot of Star Wars sequel trilogy comparisons between this. Both are abysmal and absolutely just defecate on the original source material. And that shot right there, where Galadriel force heals this elf, which also disintegrates an arrow. That's also part of the power skill level now as well. It doesn't just heal the wound and the internal bleeding and the organs and everything inside. It also dissolves the arrow. That scene is almost shot for shot when Rey force heals, first like the giant snake thing, and then Kylo Ren in Episode 9. And both are fucking terrible and break the whole lore and break the logic of the entire world that you're in. Because in your video, you mentioned as well, you said, like, from now on, you have established that dying is not on the cards. Because if Galadriel's nearby with that ring, she can heal everyone. Absolutely everyone. So it's going to be very, very interesting now watching the rest of this series and seeing how many opportunities there are going to be where Galadriel can straight up heal someone and bring someone back from the dead. And if they are going to if they're going to forget their own rule in their own universe. Awful scene. That is not the power of the ring. It would never have that kind of power. It's ridiculous. Like, even to like bloom nature, like how it has in the past ones where like a tree's withering and it just immediately erupts into leaves. Like, even that's a stretch. But I'd take that over this. This is, I'd say, a step too far. This is a fucking mile too far. Utterly, utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
Can 100%. We make Galadriel any more powerful than she already is? Like, for fuck's sake.
Well, she's the Messiah now.
She literally is. She sacrificed herself to save us all. There's a direct quote later on.
Yeah. And don't forget she's having a fight scene with Sauron later on.
Oh, yeah.
At some point. But I can't remember. Does she give Elrond the ring? Because you don't see him grab it, if I'm right.
I don't think she does.
Because she takes it off, but then he later says, oh, she's not doing it for us. She's doing it to save the ring. So I don't know if he does or not. But surely the orcs should be repelled by her then, because, all the darkness seems to shy away and go away when the ring is near.
Mm-hmm.
So... But before that, I don't know if you want to read this comment out or not. By
is it the good old Waldrig one?
Yeah, that one.
There you go. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, it actually made sense in a way. I just wanted to see Daddy Waldrig back. But...
Yes, we all do. Also, I like this. I feel like Bath Time started this off. He says, Hermione and Kermit and Numenor are on the list too. Well, I was going to say, let's try and predict who the 9 are going to be. Now, it could just be 9 characters from this episode, or we can get crazy. You can add Kermit in there as well if you want. Like, let's just get some random characters from random franchises. Who are going to be the 9 ring wraiths? I want a list of 9 as much as you can. We can all collaborate on this list.
Ooh. Do you want to do that at the end or now?
Well, yeah, just to keep it going. Yeah, as we carry on our conversation. Yeah.
Because I think that's a good one. Hermione, 100%. I think that's a decent shout. She's an unnamed.
Yeah, I keep forgetting her name. What was her name again? Gerbs. Yeah, we haven't been to the Numenor stuff for a while. Well, if the next 2 episodes are just going to be one big fight in Eregion, we're going to have what? 2 episodes to tie the Khazad-dûm and Numenor shit up?
Yeah.
And the scintillating Halfling and Gandalf storyline.
Can't wait for that. But I wanted to say about one thing that really annoyed me about that scene, actually, with the orcs wandering to Eregion.
Yeah.
So we've already established that the elves of Eregion and Lindon have spies. So how the hell has no one spotted this huge army walking from Mordor all the way through? At some point, they've got to have crossed an open plain. Or if not, they have spies. How's no one recognized it? How's no one raised the alarms? How?
Well, they've been carving the landscape up as well as they go. A whole army of orcs. Yeah. Now, I know they travel by night, but that's no excuses because they have a whole bunch of torches and a whole conga line of marching orcs with torches. People going to see that shit.
They have trolls.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Like, anyone could see that. And I'd love to know what route.
Have they just got Damrod or have they got a few more?
I'm not sure, but I know Damrod's the big player.
Yeah.
The last ballad of Damrod, so I can't wait for that. So that annoyed me because, like you say, you've already established spies and there's no information. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. If they already know about this in the next episode and they're preparing, then okay. But if not, then your spy system's shite.
Mm-hmm. Bathsign brings up a good point here. I mean, this was showed in The Hobbit a little bit as well. I also think they left out a cool addition, which was the orcs tunneling. Just tunnel to Eregion. It's been established they can do it. I mean, that seems like that would take literal years, decades to tunnel that far. But I mean, they did all that bullshit underground tunneling stuff with Mordor, didn't they? They literally tunneled to Mordor and had all like the aqueducts and the water and the thing. So yeah, I guess if you've got enough orcs working on it, anything's possible. And then we have Galadriel going utter beast mode and taking out this entire squadron of this orcs. And my note is Galadriel is so cool. And she's doing like this slow-mo Matrix shit where one takes a swipe at her and it's like, you like Ryan Johnson did that in The Last Jedi as well with Luke Skywalker where he ducks under the lightsaber and it looks stupid then, it looks stupid here. I hate this like Matrixy shit they've brought to Middle-earth with all this. And it's a whole group of orcs. Now you think, converge, attack. You have the numbers. Do it. And it's just in typical fashion, anytime you have someone with plot armor in this situation, they always attack one at a time. And she's killing them all in these elaborate things. She's like throwing a chain like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, like, get over here. And she's just unstoppable, isn't she? She sacrificed herself to save us all. And Mel, do you want to mention the line that she says from she says the line. She says the thing.
She shouts, go back to the shadow. Now, there's a reason why Gandalf says that to a Balrog.
Yes.
Why the fuck is she saying it? And who is she saying it to? At that point, is it just the orcs?
A random nondescript orc, I think, yeah.
They full on took lines from the books and the movies from this episode. They just thought, fuck it, we're not doing any work. Let's just nick a few lines. Awful. And the way that she delivered it as well, it's like, go back to the shadow. You meant to go, oh, she said the line. But I was like, fuck, she said the line. Why the hell is she saying that? But I brought this photo up for a reason, and you mentioned it. So you have all these orcs around her. They don't charge after her. Now, you have orcs that you can see here. There's an orc archer there. Slap bang. There's a load of orc archers. One right there. They don't fire. They walk towards her. They go to attack her with their hands. Why are you not shooting the arrows? Look, he's literally there. What's he doing with his other hand? What are they doing?
Yeah, as Torrelenian says, yeah, loose arrows at her, or did they use all their arrows at the horse?
Look, he's got a quiver full.
Oh yeah.
And he's not doing anything. And they're just like, look at the one on the left. He's just smiling. He's got his head up. He's just happy.
Happy as
What
well.
the heck? And the choreography's awful. They're all there. She chucks something up in the air, a lantern, and the orcs just wait for it to drop.
Right. Have you ever seen the comedy series Bottom with Rick Mayall and Ada?
I love it.
Oh mate, we need to talk about that at some point. It's literally my favorite thing. It reminds me of the of Hole, the episode where they're on the big wheel and he gets so it's like, wait for it to burst. Look out.
It is something straight out of Bottom, the whole lot, man. And you see her doing the move where she leans back on a horse and she pulls that face again. It looks like she's holding in a shit. And then she does more killing, and then she delivers that line, and then we have Adar.
Yeah.
And Adar captures her.
And he says, a star shines upon our meeting, Galadriel.
I was like, what?
Cut to credits. Well, cut to black, and you're like, well, I mean, if I was invested, I'd be like, ooh, but I'm just like, oh, thank God that's over.
You know what's going to happen?
Our scene, doesn't it? Like that scene, Galadriel, everyone's favorite action heroine, is kidnapped in the clutches of evil, and all is lost. Cut to credits. Oh, Tom Bombadil, water lilies bringing, and I was like, well, it's this really shitty, like modernized bullshit cover version of it. It sounds awful. I remember when it got released, it was like Bear McCreary. It got released on YouTube a few weeks before, and I was listening to it then, and I hated it then. And all the comments were like, "Oh my God, I can't! They've used Tolkien's lines, and this is a wonderful rendition." I'm like, it really isn't, and it's so jarring. I think I've mentioned this before, but it reminded me of Bear and the Maiden Fair in Game of Thrones. Jaime has his hand cut off, and he screams, "Cut to black." And then a bear there was, a bear, and it just takes you right out of it. Like, people don't think about this, but to me, credits are so important. Some just see, oh, it's just a list of names. You know, that's the time where you turn it off, move on to something else. But credits leave you with a mood. It lets you mull over what you've just seen. If it's something compelling, you know, it stays with you a little bit. That's why I love the credit songs to the Lord of the Rings films, because you're still in that moment, you're still in that world, and you're still feeling those emotions that you've just gone through. Yeah, wow, Bombadil was in the episode, great, but that doesn't mean you should have that song in the end credits. It doesn't follow. But I just know that it's either going to be next episode or whichever one is the battle scene, you're going to have that death metal Ballad of Damrod as the credits song, aren't you? That's going to be like your main song for it.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it just threw me out. Why? You just had such a somber scene, apparently. I mean, I was rooting for the orcs, but she gets captured, and then, like you say, they're playing this music, and again, you look at the episode of Game of Thrones with the Red Wedding, there's no sound, there's no music, and it hits you. With this, you're fucking going into party mode again. You're like, yeah, come on, let's rock to this.
Yeah.
Awful.
It's a great point here as well. I didn't even notice this, but Torrelenian says, look at the horse when they're shooting arrows at. No saddle or bridle. Then when Galadriel mounts it, saddle and bridle.
You know whose horse that's going to be?
Oh, God.
That's going to be Isildur's horse.
Yeah.
I mean, whose horse is it?
Yeah, it's just like the Lloyd's. Is it the Lloyd's Bank commercials?
Yeah, they're just loosen.
Black Beauty's just running past on set.
Like, or actually, no, didn't they get Isildur's horse in the last episode?
I can't remember. It was
fuck.
It was a wonderful side quest, wasn't it? Probably, yeah. They probably got it back, I think, in that one.
So then, whose horse is that?
That's what I mean. It was just a random horse. Was it just, I don't know, like a survivor's horse from the area? Convenient horse, though, isn't it? Great that she had that.
Celeborn's horse. And I love how Elrond and that are going to try escape all of this army.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to get to a Region, apparently.
So So they're going to get there, and it'll be like the Helms. You think they're going to try and do the Helms Deep thing, like when Aragorn sees the host of Uruk-hai march in, and he rides back quickly and tells them to prepare. They will be here by nightfall, kind of thing.
Yeah, because you see that Elrond enters the battlefield, I think, behind the orcs on a cavalry charge. So I think he'll be late towards the battle. But another thing that causes questions for later on is the fact that Adar and Halbrand's plan was that he will give a signal to Adar that Galadriel and Sauron are in league together, and that's when he can come to attack Eregion. Like, what, have they fucking messaged each other? Like, how the fuck has he got that message across? And how long's the time passed? Because apparently it took him ages to get from Mordor to Eregion, yet fucking a whole army is mobilized and moved within that time period for them to get a message over to them. I don't get it.
He'll give a signal?
He'll
signal to him.
Yeah, he'll signal to him and let them know that they're in league.
It reminds me of Team America. Like, what's the signal? It's me. Smart ass motherfucker.
It just, I just can't wait, because you know that the next episode's going to be that they're going to be quizzing her about her being in league with Sauron, and she'll be like, no, I hate Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll say, oh, Sauron's actually in Eregion, and then that's why they'll still go to Eregion or some bullshit. But can't wait for that.
Well, I was going to ask you, I was like, because we've got 4 episodes left. We know that 2 of those are going to be a battle episode. Now, do you think we're going to have next week's episode, the battle will occupy episodes 6 and 7, and then we'll have the final one, which finishes everything off and teases up for season 3? Or do you think the next 2 episodes are going to be the battle ones?
I can't see them being the battle ones, because they need to build up somehow this Celebrimbor and Sauron's relationship. And what have they done? They haven't done that. They haven't made the dwarven rings yet. They're working on that. They haven't made the rings of men yet. So where are they going to do this?
We've probably got 1 more episode then it'll be the big action 2.
Yeah.
And then you'll probably have 1 tied up at the end, I would imagine. Because the whole like volcano one, like the big action-y one in season 1, I think that was like episode 7, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was like the penultimate one, yeah. And then you have like the wonderful. 1 month. We have 1 month left of Rings of Power. We can do it.
I feel
this
so
was a
drained.
Particular low point. Yeah. This was a particular low point of this series so far, and of both series combined. In all honesty, as I mentioned, like I wasn't letting it get to me. There were some things that kind of pissed me off here and there, but I was just like, oh, it's Rings of Power. It's fun. And it still is fun to talk about and laugh at it, at the incompetence of it. But this one was tough. This one got me to a place today. And we'll see if the rest of the series goes that way as well.
What do you think the worst moment was?
Oh, God. I mean, the whole Galadriel stuff, we've seen that, like, that's just a staple of what Galadriel is in this. The healing scene was pretty piss poor. Honestly, it was the stuff that I was bored at the most was the whole Arondir stuff. Like, I just couldn't give less of a fuck. So in terms of like non-enjoyment, I guess it would be that storyline. But I think the things that just pissed me off the most were like, it was either the Barrow Downs, probably Tom Bombadil. Just why? But honestly, like, out of everything we discussed, what was the worst thing? Just throw a dart. It could be any of them. Yeah. How about you?
I agree, mate. It was all rubbish. I can't think of anything that I actually liked. You know, they try and portray Arondir as always such a Tolkien elf, you know, but he's not. He does like wood, much like his performance. Nice. Fucking wooden. But yeah, I think the worst for me is how they've proper fucking overpowered Galadriel now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, no one can die near her. No one should die.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Bilbo, at the end, he should be fucking fit as a fiddle. Being near her with the ring.
Yeah.
But no, that, for me, her being insubordinate, not listening, always being right again, not letting Elrond take control, and just being insufferable. I think she was the worst part for me.
Yeah. No.
And she's humble.
Oh, so humble. Yeah. What a character change from series 1. They've really cleared that up, haven't they, with Galadriel? Bath Time says, "Here, lads, what happened at the end with Galadriel's ring? Elrond said, I think she did it to save the ring, not them." Yeah, he was basically just saying she's in it for her own selfish means and not for any kind of like altruistic purposes. It's just because she really loves Sauron and wants to change him. That's inherently what it is deep down still, isn't it? I think.
The thing is, though, they play off in those scenes as if Elrond's being bitter and that he's wrong. But when you think about it, he's absolutely right.
Always been right this whole series. And I'm not even like a massive lover of Elrond in this show. But honestly, like more or less every single scene we've had of him so far, I'm like, yeah, he's right on the money. He's calling her out. He's trying to put her in her place. He's calling her out on her bullshit. Like you mentioned, she's saying, oh, this quest is so important. You know, we must stop Sauron. The thought of Sauron ruling Middle-earth is terrifying to me. And you mentioned it's like, well, yeah, well, why didn't you say anything then at the end of series 1? It all keeps coming back to that because that's a huge moment. That's a huge like character fail for her that she never mentioned any of this.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you don't get the Sauron Celebrimbor scenes if she just told him.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to be fair, I think that scene angered me the most throughout the whole show is that one in the previous episode.
Yeah.
Awful.
Bath Time says, we'll round off shortly after this because we've been going for quite a while now on this episode. Bath Time says, am I right in thinking the most persuasive interpretation of Boromir's fall to the ring is because he kept picturing himself with it? Is this where they're going? Well, yeah, I mean, Boromir in the book, he kind of goes on this tirade where he says, like, we're going to marshal huge armies to combat Sauron and we're going to build walls and and he has like all these lofty, grandiose ideas where ultimately he sees himself as like this king, this lord of men, this dictator, this military leader that would just end up falling to evil and becoming like crazed with it. So maybe, but I mean, this isn't the One Ring, is it? It shouldn't be having this kind of effect. Like it's just, well, what effect does the ring have? It can bring life back to the woodlands. It can do this. It's got mithril in it or something which has magical properties. It can heal people. It can bring people back from the dead. Like, it can disintegrate arrows. What the fuck ever, whatever they want. Xenomorph. Hey, I'm not gonna do the whole thing. Hey, doll, Mary doll, ring a doll, Dillo. No, oh god, Dillo. I thought that said something else.
Bilbo's brother's back.
A Xenomorph singing that song, and it's wonderful. It's like the one in Spaceballs, like "Hello, my baby, hello, my honey."
Oh man, I mean,
Galadriel's obsession with Sauron meant to be corrupting her at the moment. I mean, that's the impression. That's like kind of what Elrond keeps saying is that Sauron's darkness and presence has kind of seeped into her mind and is still controlling her from afar because of her infatuation with him. But I think we're meant to be like, oh, but no, Galadriel's in the right because she loves him and she cares for him and she can bring him back because she's wholly good. That's how I read into that anyway. But yeah. Right, guys, I think we will round it off there. I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's tuned in, kept the conversation going. I say it every week, but you guys are amazing. Thank you. And yeah, wow, we've almost been coming up to 2.5 hours on this one episode. There was a lot to discuss in this episode. I think we knew this was going to be a long one, and we definitely knew that this was one of the episodes that got us riled up the most, probably the most, actually. So before we round off, everything in Middle-earth, if you just want to mention to everyone where they can find your stuff, what you've got coming up.
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Everything in Middle-earth. So currently reviewing the Rings of Power episodes. I'm struggling with it, to be honest. It is very, very tiring listening and watching to all this shite. But I'm enjoying coming on the live streams with yourself We just found out the news about possibly Ian McKellen and Orlando Bloom returning back as Legolas and Gandalf. So I was thinking, when all of the Rings of Power dies down, possibly jumping on a stream together and discussing what to expect for the hunt for Gollum.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be great. Yeah.
And covering some more of that content. And then later on in the year, we've got the War of the Rohirrim to cover.
We certainly have.
So we have plenty of Middle-earth content. But yeah, that's everything I'm doing. And yeah, can't wait for the next episode.
Absolutely. And I do recommend everyone heading over there, giving you a subscribe. You've released your review for episode 4 of this one in a much more truncated time compared to this one. We've been talking for about 2.5 hours. You've got like real nice, to the point, bite-sized ones that still manage to cover everything, brilliantly edited. And I was going to say, do you script your reviews, or do you just go off the cuff? Because it's so good, like it feels like you've written them down. But I think you said you just let the camera roll, didn't you? And you just...
Yeah, normally I have very brief notes. So it'll just be like, oh, they go do this and that. But yesterday's one, I was just annoyed that I was running on adrenaline. So it's like I completely left out the Dark Wizard stuff. And when we've been talking about it, I thought, oh shit, that's actually massive. But yeah, it's always a pleasure coming on, mate. And your channel's growing, mate, and rightly so.
Thanks, man. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've laughed this much on a stream. Well, probably since the last Rings of Power one that we did, but no, this one was pretty special tonight, man. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving hours out of your day to join me on this. It's always a pleasure having you on. Let us know what your thoughts of I can't even talk now. I've been talking for so long. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Rings of Power if you haven't done so already, if you're discovering this video afterwards. And please do consider subscribing to the channel for more Rings of Power reviews for certain. More movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. So what have I got coming up? Tomorrow, I'll be going live with Dale, continuing our Disney retrospective, 100 Years of Wonder, going through all of the numbered Disney animated classics. And tomorrow, we're up to, I think it's number 43, Brother Bear. So we'll be talking about that at 8 o'clock. And then if you're not bored of me and Dale, we'll be going live again the day after that on Tuesday. They're releasing all of the Star Wars films in cinema, and we're up to episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which is going to be great. There's some real dumb moments in that film, but it's definitely one of the most enjoyable Star Wars films. So we'll be talking about that one and seeing how well it holds up and seeing it on the big screen again, which would be great. And just a final thank you to everyone that's tuned in tonight. This is one of the reasons, I mean, we do this because we love talking about it, but big part of the fun is getting the conversation from you guys. And we really appreciate the loyal viewership on this as well. So have a very good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you're watching this from all over the world. And we'll be back with more Rings of Power. I think we're going to snap back to Friday next week, aren't we? Is that what we're going to shoot for the reviews, or? Yeah.
We'll probably go for Friday.
Good stuff. Right. We'll be back on Friday then. So catch you soon, everyone. Take care.